What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the third part of a story where Issei was the son of the heavenly dragon Ddraig. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into part 3. Location jump, Azazel's House of Erotics. So I still don't know why you call this house of yours that name. Issei plopped Cacabial on the waxed mahogany floor. Issei? Wasn't expecting you here to deliver Cacabial. Azazel became genuinely surprised. Well, considering that Volley is out of it as of this moment, I thought that I'd do the job you gave her while she has her rest. Azazel then became even more surprised. You didn't, did you? Issei stood there with a deadpan face. Azazel jumped in excitement. OMG. You did. You scored my little daughter's heart. Hahaha. Drinks on me. Seriously? Issei crossed his arms while looking at a really giddy Azazel. What? It's not every day you see your daughter fall in love and have those feelings reciprocated. She's had feelings for you for a long time. And I'm happy for her. Azazel tried to pour some drinks. Yet, was unable to as his hands wouldn't keep still. You may be a being that can't get drunk easily. But, would you lay off the drinks? Issei put his right hand on his waist and the other facepalming. No. Never. Booze is the essence of my blood. So I know, no, it is not. Anyway, how are the girls? You know Rainer, Kalwarna and Millet. Azazel piped up at this question. They are actually behaving for once. I guess you scaring the shit out of them really made them change. I see. Well, if you don't mind, I would like to see them. Why? From what I understand is that you hate them. No, I don't hate them. Maybe in the moment back then, yes. But, now, no. Alright. Azazel snapped his fingers. A purple and golden magic circle spawned on the floor. The figures of the three aforementioned people appeared with smiling faces. That was until they saw Issei, which devolved into fear. Well, hello girls. Issei gentlemanly bowed towards them. All three of them shrunk, making themselves look smaller. Don't be alarmed. I'm not going to hurt you. Issei tread closer. He's telling the truth, girls. Azazel said while sitting over on a couch. So, what have all three of you been up to? Issei questioned. Be doing tasks for Lord Azazel. Rainer said with the fear still not dispersed. I have a proposition for you three. How would you all like to live at my house? Rainer and the other two gained a shocked expression. Is this some kind of joke? Millet came forward. No, Millet. I assure you, I'm being genuinely honest. Issei bowed once again. But, don't you hate us? Why would you want us in your house? I tried to kill you, and we along with Donasik attempted to kill Asia and take her gear. While, yes, I was pissed off. As I see Asia as a little sister of mine. All of you crossed a line that you all shouldn't have. However, that is now water under the bridge. Rainer, Kalwarna and Millet bow in appreciation. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to make amends for our mistakes. It's fine. Issei looked at his wristwatch and saw that it was 11:30 in the evening. Well, I need to get going. You all can come after Parents' Day has concluded. Issei turned around and proceeded to leave. We'll go prepare our stuff then. Rainer and the others then scurried off to their rooms. Location jump, Issei's residence, 15 minutes earlier. Rias and her peerage arrive at Issei's residence with Issei's group tagging along. The girl that consisted of Abigail and the others in the group spread out and did their duties around the house, cleaning, washing, sweeping and other things. Rias sat down on one of the couches that were present and with it putting Volley on the same couch, albeit on the other side, with her peerage next to her. Tiamat came out of her room tired and sleepy. Yawning, Tiamat greeted the maid girls back and said hello to Rias and the others. Until she came across Volley. Tiamat could sense Albion's signature energy within Volley's body. So, this is my son's rival. She's intriguing. Very intriguing. Tiamat sneezed, Volley waking up from her shock-induced sleep. Where? Volley opened her eyes and looked around the place and saw the faces of everyone in the house. However, looking at Tiamat sent a shiver up her spine. Well, hello there dear. Volley gulped at Tiamat's tone as she leaned closer to her face. He. Volley felt nervous all over. Even Albion felt like his life was in danger, and he's dead. Suo, what do you think about him? I don't know, what you mean? Volley sunk into the couch. My son, Issei. What do you think about him? Tiamat intimidatingly leaned over Volley. The shadow which slightly overcasting her face didn't help to ease the uneasy feeling she felt. I think he is a very strong and powerful person. He has taught me a lot of things. And I find him very attractive as well. Volley sweat dropped while sporting a blush. Tiamat sat down next to Volley. Tiamat narrowed her eyes at the silver-haired girl. Are you by any chance related to the devil Riz of Live and Lucifer? Tiamat saw Vali grit her teeth at the name. Unfortunately, yes I am. He is my grandfather. And I'd love to get my hands on him. I see. You have a past with him. That is correct. If you don't mind. I'd like to know why you hate your grandfather so much. Vali stayed quiet. You don't have to tell me if you're not ready. Vali shook her head. It's fine. Vali's past. Vali started to talk about what she experienced. Being born with half devil and half human blood. Having a human mother that cared for her in many more ways than one. Rizavan didn't like this. Vali got to the part when Razavan, her father, started to beat her, scold her and bully her. She told Tiamat that Rizavan was the reason that it all began. He intensified the beatings himself and everything with it. When Vali unlocked her sacred gear, which was divine dividing. Rizavan personally dealt with his son accordingly by killing him and Vali's mother, who sacrificed herself to help Vali escape the Lucifer mansion. After countless of hours of either flying with the wings or walking while conversing with Albion, Vali finally collapsed onto the ground. That was until a person in red dragonic armor flew down from a high altitude with the light of the sky obscuring the being like a shadow. Everything is going to be fine, young one. The figure in red armor landed on the ground gently and kneeled down to the young Vali. He went to reach out to her with his hand. But she exhaustedly backed away. The figure took in how disheveled, dirty and beaten the girl was. Rage started to boil in his blood. Vali looked at the figure and the divine dividing wings flashed. We meet once again, Red One. Albion said in a somewhat cautious tone, being worried for his new host's life. Issei Albion, I've said this many times before. I renounce our rivalry. Please, just call me Ddraig from now on. Ddraig said with disapproval. Albion stayed silent for a bit. Can you tell me what your name is, little one? The figure spoke in a soothing and calm tone. Vali kept quiet. Albion, a little help please. Her name is Vali. Vali Lucifer. This got the figure's attention. Are you related to Rizavan Lucifer? The figure some semblance of anger. Vali looked at the supposed man in the armor and slowly nodded. The figure retracted his helmet to reveal Issei. Alright. I'm going to take you to someone who I know will be thrilled to have you. Can you trust me? Vali took a moment and turned to the being in her sacred gear. Albion, what do I do? Even though he is your rival. He is the only Red Dragon Emperor in history. Issei, but despite him being your rival, he is one of the most kindest souls you will ever come across. You can trust him. Albion gave his opinion. Vali mentally nodded. Oh okay. Vali said shyly. She started to stretch out her arm and hand towards Issei. Issei reached for Vali's hand and grasped it. Thank you for trusting me. Issei pulled Vali into a protective hug. Vali, who was in between his rocksteady-built chest and his boulder-like arms, was stunned for a few seconds. But then embraced in the hug. Just like my mother's hugs. She said to herself. Albion inwardly smiled. After countless hours of being awake and alert for anything was taxing for him. So, Albion decided to take a long nap, knowing that Ddraig's son will protect Vali. Issei then spread his wings with Vali tightly holding on his chest. After an hour of flying, he made it to the Gremory and gently landed on the ground. A few fallen angels were stationed outside of the main entrance of the facility. Issei walked up the fallen guarding the entrance. Hello Gerald. Everyone. Sir. The fallen saluted. SHHH. Issei put his index finger up to his lips. Then motioned over to a sleeping Vali on his back. Sorry sir. They whispered. It's fine. I'm here to talk to uncle about this little one. The guards start to fawn over the girl. The guards nod and move out of the way. Issei makes his way to Azazel's office. Issei then opens the large wooden doors to find Azazel working on a stack of paperwork. Azazel looked up and smiled. Issei. What are you doing here? Am I not allowed to visit my uncle? Azazel chuckled and he noticed Vali. Who's she? She's Vali Lucifer, granddaughter to Rizavan. Issei gently placed her on the couch in the room and sat next to her, allowing her to use his lap as a pillow. I see. So, why did you come here then? I need you to take care of her and be like a father to her. Azazel became stumped at this. Issei, do you know what you are saying, right? I do. Issei nodded. What happens if I refuse to take care of her? Then I'll take care of her. And to be honest, I would rather like to be her father figure. But, due to me being the Red Dragon Emperor and having my own title, a lot of enemies will use her as leverage. And I don't want that for her. I mean, just look at her. Issei and Azazel looked at the sleeping body of Vali. She looks like she's been abused. Correction. She was abused. Abused by both her father and grandfather. Albion said. Both Issei and Azazel were pissed. I'll kill him. I will kill that Lucifer. Issei's eyes glowed. I've made up my mind. I'll take her in, Issei. Azazel spoke with a voice of disgust. Not disgust at Vali. But, at Rizavan. How could he ever do that to his own granddaughter? Issei nodded. I'll train her myself as well as the way of the dragon. Azazel nodded back. Red Dragon Emperor. Issei, on behalf of Vali. No. Us, we thank you for everything. Albion said in a thankful tone. It's nothing, Albion. I can't let someone die. Even if they are my rival. I would rather have them live than suffer. Just one question. Go ahead. How will you train Vali? The same way I did. Rigorous and brutal training. Issei said, making Albion sweat drop inside the dividing gear. Present day. I see. Heh, Issei put you through the ringer, eh? Yes, he made me fly through a flowing fall of lava with the balance breaker equipped. The heat was like an oven turned up to the max. Vali started to sweat remembering the heat. I would have made you swim in the lava without the balance breaker. Tiamat grinned sadistically. Vali's instincts were screaming for her to run for her life. Minutes went by and Issei arrived home. Issei walked through the doors. Hello everyone. Hello dear. Tiamat smiled. Issei saw that Vali was awake and with a red face. Everything alright Vali? Peachy. Well, Kakabiel has been delivered. Alright everyone. Issei got the attention of everyone. In a couple of days, we are going to get 3 new members to the household. Everyone became confused. Who might those be? Asia knows them pretty well. I do. Asia tilted her head. Yes, you do. And I promise they won't hurt you. Asia started wondering who they were. Anyway, Parents' Day is right around the corner. Rias groaned. Issei couldn't help but chuckle. If everyone is okay with it, are they allowed to stay? Issei turned to his mother. Well, of course. That is if we have some spare rooms. We only have 6 and I don't think that everyone can fit. Issei put his hand to his chin. Then I'll just have a few of them in my room and I'll sleep down here. Rias, Vali and a few others, who had a crush on Issei, wanted to sleep with him. Rias and Vali's faces turned bright red. I don't mind sleeping with Ice, Issei. They both said timidly. Issei was surprised to say the least. Issei turned to his mother for help. Tiamat just looked at him with a smirk. Ahaha, Wanderer son. You have a lot of girls stacking up. Issei sweat dropped. Well, anyway. I'm going to bed, cause I'm tired. Issei walked past everyone and went upstairs. Everyone looked at each other and nodded. Issei's bedroom. Issei opened his door to his room and took off his shirt, showing off his amazing buff yet heavily scarred physique. As Issei made his way to his bed, he stripped down to his boxers that showed even more of his scars. He got into bed and slowly sleep overcame him. Out of the corner of his eyes as he was closing them, he could see his door slightly jar open, but paid no mind to it. Morning. Issei once again woke up to a heavy weight on him once again. However, this weight was a lot heavier than normal. Issei tried to remove his covers. But, to lightly struggle against a force that was preventing him from doing so. Issei dropped his head back down on the pillow and sighed. A few minutes later Issei tried for the cover again with a bit more strength this time. Once he grabbed a hold of the corner and lifted it. He widened his eyes in shock to see not just Rias in his bed. But, Akeno, Kaneko, Vali, Asia and surprisingly Grafia. Whoa. Issei said. Some of the girls began to stir in the sleep and eventually awakened. Good morning, Ice, Issei. All of them said while they were in their daze. Good morning to all of you too. Not that I dislike it or anything, but can anyone tell me, why are all of you in my bed? Issei inquired. Aren't we allowed to sleep soundly with the man we all like? Akeno giggled. I guess, I ain't gonna restrict you from what you all want. Sigh, if all of you want to be by my side, then why not some of you join my peerage that I have not started yet? Issei rubbed the back of his head. Rias and Grafia's eyes lit up. Vali blushed. Yes, Rias and Grafia immediately said. Alright, I'll do it. Vali agreed. Issei got up from his bed and walked off to his desk which held the box that contained the pieces. As he walked, he could physically feel the girls eyeing him with lust. He has such a manly body. Grafia thought with a somewhat clear mind. My future husband and master has a great build. Rias thought as well with lust clouding her judgment. Holy shit. That body is godly, just as expected of my ex-rival and future husband. Wait. Did I really just say that? Vali was having an inner meltdown while heavily blushing. Alright. I have my pieces. I feel like my queen piece is trying to resonate with you, Grafia. Do you accept this piece and become a part of my family? Issei picked up a pulsing red blue silver queen piece. Grafia nodded frantically. Yes, I do. Alright. Just hold on to the piece for now. Issei gave the pulsing chess piece to Grafia. Rias, it seems that both of my bishops are wanting you. But, only one will suffice. Issei picked up one of the pulsating bishop pieces and gave it to Rias, who held it close to her. And lastly Vali. Well, this is something. Issei caught the attention of everyone in the room. What is it, Ice? Rias spoke. It seems that the only pieces that Volley resonates with are my pawns. Issei said, shocking everyone. How? Are you saying that the pieces see me as fodder? Volley asked, annoyed. No, not at all. Actually, quite the opposite. Volley was confused now. Because pawns can promote to queens, knights, bishops and rooks. Technically they are the second strongest pieces in the set, underneath the queen piece of course, that's if we are not counting the king piece. Issei gave Volley 2 pawns. Which she took with care. Issei stopped talking for a few seconds thinking about something. Rias and the others wondered why he had stopped. Ice. Issei snapped out of his musings and instantly made a magic circle on the ground. The magic circle showed a live hologram of Kouh, a man with black hair and a Chinese armor, a blonde man with glasses in a nice dark grey suit that depicts from royalty or a noble family, and a blonde girl in a school uniform with a blue cape and witch hat. Oh? Boss. Kouh said, surprised. Hello, you four. What's the occasion? Kouh said. I had a thought. And I wanted to know. How would you like to be a part of my peerage? Issei said sternly. Everyone. Kouh, Kouh, Arthur and Lefay were stunned. Issei eyed them to see their unease except Kouh, who was contemplating. If you're worried about the pieces changing your biological anatomy, then you don't need to be. Because, me and Ajuka worked on my set and modified them. They work just like the evil pieces, but they allow the host's choice of nah. So, if you, Arthur and Lefay wanted to carry on as you are, the pieces will not change you, if you don't want to. Or if you wanted to, you could be an angel, devil or dragon for example. Then that means I can be a full Nekomata again, and it gets me closer to my sister. Perhaps we can make kittens, Naya. Kouh pondered, then looked at Issei with a serious tone, which at the end turned playful. Alright, I'm in. Kouh said. Arthur discussed it over with his sister. Me and my sister will join you. Alright. Come on over to my house later and we'll talk. Oh, and Kouh. Having kids is a bit too early. Kouh pouted after hearing that. Okay. See you then. Kouh said, 2 fingers saluting Issei. The circle then shrank into the non-existence. Well, that's that. Issei turned to the others that had their pieces. Alright, those who hold my pieces. Please, may you lie on your back on the floor. Rias, Grafia and Volley nod and proceeded to lie on the floor. Issei stood over them and chanted. With the power that I hold within me. I, Issei Hyoudou, the Judgement Dragon, make you bound to my will and make you my servants as my bishop, queen and pawn. Fight for me and fight with me. Rias Gremory, Grafia Lucifuge and Volley Lucifer, you all have accepted these pieces as they have accepted you. Awaken my court of jury. Issei was done with the incantation. The pieces went into and melded with the girls' souls, making them feel even stronger than ever before. They all rose up and spread their improved bodies. Wow. I feel so much stronger now, like 10x stronger. Rias said, amazed, and tested her POD. I agree, Rias. Grafia replied, flexing her ice powers. She felt like she could reach sub-zero temperature easily now. The divine dividing wing appear. Volley. Albion called out. Yes, Albion. Volley answered. It seems that the 2 pawns you took in have increased basically every stat. Your physical and magical strength as well as your magical capacity have received a massive boost. You can hold balance breaker for at least 4 months within a continuous battle, and your control over the Juggernaut drive has also increased from 10 minutes to 35 minutes. Albion explained. Volley's eyes widen in shock. Issei smirks and says. Congratulations, Volley. Coming back to reality, Volley started to blush. Thank you. She said. I suppose we should get going to school now. Oh, and Grafia. Issei turned towards and walked to his door. Yes, master. Grafia stood. Okay, first things first, don't call me master. I don't do well with formalities. Second, I will get you enrolled into the school as a teacher. Wonder how that will look. Issei said, imagining Grafia in a teacher's attire. Volley. Volley's attention shifted to Issei. Yes, Issei. I'm going to enroll you into the school as a 3rd year. Same as Rias and Sona. Oh, okay, then. Volley said, flustered. Issei and everyone got ready, they went downstairs straight after. Good morning, son. Tiamat greeted. Every one of the maids greeted him as well. Hello, morning, sir, master. Issei sighed. They are still calling me at that. Oh well, can't be helped. Good morning, father. Tosca came bounding towards Issei. Issei caught the young teen in his arms and hugged her. You're definitely a lot more happy today. That's because I found Isaiah and others to be my friends. Tosca said joyfully. Well, that's wonderful. Issei could tell that his daughter had feelings for the blonde knight. Issei brought his daughter away from the others. Tosca. What is Issei Hyoudou to you? Isaiah. Well, I think he's a wonderful and kind person. A person who perseveres and the person who I love. Tosca went red at the last part. Issei nodded. Now to test Kouh. Alright then, go and play with the girls, I need to talk with Kouh for a little bit. Tosca nodded and went to go interact the other members of the residence. Issei searched around for Kouh and found him in the underground, training with his holy demonic sword. Kouh, do you have a minute? Kouh nodded. I do. What seems to be the problem? Issei shook his head. There's no problem. I want to know what is my daughter to you. Issei Kouh was caught off guard with this question was an understatement. She's a very sweet, kind, caring and lovable girl. Plus the fact she was one of the ones that helped me escape from the compound of the project. I see. Kouh. No Isaiah. Kouh looked shocked at being called his original name. Issei looked directly into Isaiah's eyes. Protect my daughter. Protect her with your life. I am leaving her in your hands. You may be weak at the moment. But, you have the drive to get stronger, which is admirable, and with me training you within a year, you will reach borderline ultimate class devil. Maybe even before then. Kouh became surprised. Ultimate class. In a year. Kouh thought. Issei began to leave with a very shocked Kouh behind. At the academy, lunch. Issei made his way to the student council. Passing by a lot of other students. Whether they be girls checking him out or boys pulling the middle finger. He simply ignored them and pressed on. After some minutes of walking, Issei came face to face with the council doors and opened them. Sona was conversing with Tsubaki, her queen. Sona turned her attention towards Issei. Good morning, Hyoudou. Sona greeted, although with a light blush. Hello, Sona. Issei smiled. What can I do for you today? Sona asked. Issei put a finger on his chin. First, I would like to have my queen enrolled here as a teacher, my daughter a student. Preferably in Issei Hyoudou's class if that wouldn't be too hard, and Vali as a third year. Sona nodded. Okay, who is your queen, may I ask? Is it Abigail? No. The queen I'm referring to is from my own personal peerage. Oh okay. May I ask who's in this peerage? Sona inquired. Issei nodded. Grafia is my queen, Rias is one of my bishops, and Vali is one of my pawns that took 2 pieces. Not to mention, all of my pieces are mutated. Sona broke that stoic character of her and stood up, staring Issei directly into Issei's eyes. Can I be a part of your peerage as well? Both Tsubaki and Issei jumped in surprise. If that's what you want. Sona stood in front of Issei, and Issei held his other bishop up to Sona's chest. Issei began the chant. With the power that I hold within me. I, Issei Hyoudou, the Judgement Dragon, make you bound to my will and make you my servant as my final and last bishop. Fight for me and fight with me. Sona Sitri, you have accepted this piece as it has accepted you. Awaken to the court of jury. The bishop piece flowed into Sona's chest, making her Issei's second bishop. There, it is done. You said the first. So, what's the second? Sona tilted her head. This brought out a chessboard in pieces. Chess. Sona inside felt giddy. But, she didn't know why. Am I falling for him? Alright. Sona agreed. 15 minutes later, 10th round. Sona still couldn't believe it, no matter what she did Issei always countered her moves. He checkmated her every minute and a half of starting matches. I concede. Sona said in disbelief. Issei got closer to Sona and whispered in her ear, making a shiver go down her spine. Well. Guess I'll be seeing you around, my future wife. And with that, Sona and Tsubaki were left flabbergasted. Sona burst with steam coming out of her ears. Tsubaki spoke up. I think we should notify the peerage. Sona couldn't contain her excitement. Yes, I think we should. Sona jumped up and down, betraying any semblance of her strict and stoic personality. Orc. Issei laid on the couch casually taking a nap, that was until he felt a heavy lump on his legs. Issei opened his eyes to find Kaneko sitting on his lap. Well, hello Kaneko. Issei sat up and rubbed Kaneko's head, to which she started to purr. Shirin. Kaneko said. Call me, Shirin. When we are alone. Alright, Shirin then. Issei smiled. Then everyone came into the orc. Rias with a keno in tow, followed by Asia and Kouh. Rias sat down next to Issei rather than at her desk. We have a new member. The new member stepped into the room. Which turned out to be Zenobia. Hello, everyone. Zenobia greeted. Hello Zenobia. Issei greeted back. Maybe I can make Arena into my pawn or knight. Zenobia knelt down to Asia. Asia, I'm sorry for what I said before. It's okay. I have no hard feelings over it. I just want to be friends. And maybe, I can show you around the school. Zenobia showed a little smile. I would appreciate it. Where's Arena, Zenobia? Issei questioned. She's gone back to the church to deliver the fragments. Zenobia answered. I see. Issei homed in on Irina's energy signature and found out that she was on her way to the airport. "I'll be back." Issei warped away, instantly shocking everyone. "He didn't use a circle," Akeno said. "Airport?" Issei warped into an alleyway beside the airport building. He walked up to Irina and said, "Irina, leaving without telling me?" Startled, Irina swiftly spun around and smacked Issei in the face. The slap hurt Irina more than it did Issei. Holding on to her now throbbing hand. "Issei, don't scare me like that. Also, aren't you supposed to be in school?" Issei chuckled. "Yes, but no. I came here to send you off and make a proposition for you." "Proposition? What kind?" "How would you like to become my pawn?" Issei said, shocking Irina. "You mean becoming a devil?" Irina said. "No. Not unless that's what you wanted." Irina was confused now. "For example, my pieces only change a person's anatomy if they so choose. If the host wanted to, they could remain as human or become a supernatural being like an angel, a devil, dragon or something else." "So, I could be an angel?" Irina's eyes sparkled. "Haha, yes you can." Issei nodded while a smile. "I'll do it. I'll become your pawn and join your peerage." Irina grew excitedly. Issei looked around to see the place empty. Issei took out a pawn piece, held it up to Irina's chest and began to chant once again. "With the power that I hold within me. I, Issei Hyoudou, the Judgement Dragon, make you bound to my will and make you my servant as one of my pawns. Fight for me and fight with me. Irina Hyoudou, you have accepted this piece as it has accepted you. Awaken to the court of jury." Irina glowed gold and out sprouted 2 sets of golden feathered wings. The light died down and Irina admired her new appendages. Reveling in the feeling of having her own wings now. "Thank you." "You're welcome." Irina was still inspecting her wings and looked up to find that Issei was nowhere. Irina furled her wings into her body, grabbed her things and left for the Vatican. Back at the Orc. Issei warped back and saw Vali and Tosca in the Kouh uniforms and Grafia in a teacher's attire. "Grafia? Holy shit. Vali and Grafia, you two look amazing." Issei smiled broadly. Tosca came up to Issei. "Father, do I look good in this?" Tosca twirled. "Yes you do, princess." Issei replied. "I wanted to know. Have you 4 introduced yourselves to the school yet?" "No, we was think of doing that tomorrow." Grafia replied. "Well, everyone. Today we are going to be using the pool at the back of the school," Rias announced. "Huh. Could use a bit of a swim actually," Issei said. "Pool, back of the school." The pool was disgusting. Filled with dark green algae. "Wow. People really let this place go." Issei whistled. "Well, it was the student council's responsibility to clean it. But, because of the school's destruction, Sona left this job to us." Issei nodded. "Seems reasonable. Guess we should get on with this then." Issei went into the changing rooms to get changed. "Well, you heard the dragon. Chop, chop." Rias hurried everyone up and entered their respective changing rooms. After a few minutes Issei was out and already cleaning the pool. Minutes went by, Issei had gotten halfway through the cleaning, the rest of the girls and Kiba came out. All of the girls except Tosca stared at Issei's body with lust. Tosca looked at her father with pride, then to Kiba, which turned into lust. Kiba noticed the look Tosca gave him. Kiba's sweat dropped. "Oh? About time. I'm almost done here." Issei spoke. The girls came out of their stupor and blushed in embarrassment. Within a few more minutes the pool was entirely clean and refilled with fresh water. "Alright. That should do it," Ria said, swiping the sweat from her brow. Issei swan dived into the pool and made laps upon laps like it was nothing. On his 100th lap Issei stopped to see both Kaneko and Asia standing on the edge of the pool. "Yes, they can't swim." Issei swam over to the girls. "Hey, girls. What are you doing?" We can't swim," Asia said, embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, girls. Come, I'll teach you too." Issei held out both hands, to which both Kaneko and Asia grabbed a hold of them. Dropping into the shallow water, they were brought close up to Issei's bare scarred chest. Kaneko and Asia glowed bright red. Issei taught Kaneko and Asia. Kaneko got used to doggy paddling, and Asia learned how to swim like Issei, although not as elegantly. Issei got out of the pool too, out to put sunscreen on the girls that asked him. Deep within the gear. Irvina was watching Issei with a happy smile. "I think I should join them." She made her choice and wanted to get the same treatment. Outside. Irvina came into reality, which took Issei and everyone by surprise. In a few seconds they welcomed her company. Issei proceeded to put the sunscreen on the girls. It went in the order of Irvina, Rias, Akeno, Vali, Grafia, Asia and Kaneko. Asuka asked Kiba to rub the sunscreen on her back. Issei looked at Kiba taking care of his daughter. Smiling, Issei turned his attention to the girls that begged him to continue. Issei looked around to realize that someone was missing. "Where's Zenobia?" Issei asked. "Now that I think about it, I don't know. She was here when we arrived at the pool," Rias said. "I'll go find her." Issei went to find Zenobia. Rias laid her head back down on the basking chair. Somewhere near the pool. Issei heard some rattling in a shed as he walked by. Issei slid the shed door open to find Zenobia struggling to put on the school swimwear. "Need a little help?" Issei offered. "Oh? No, I don't need any help. I can get this on my..." Whoa. Zenobia lost her balance and tumbled forwards into Issei's chest. Issei caught Zenobia. Zenobia, despite being dense, bold and out there. She blushed red when she came into contact with Issei's bare-toned and scarred body. "You okay, Zenobia?" Issei said with concern on his face. I'm fine. Thank you." Zenobia spoke flustered. Issei stood Zenobia up straight and led Zenobia out of the shed. But Zenobia pulled on Issei's hand and it got his attention. "What's wrong, Zenobia?" "Ever since I was in the church and an exorcist, my goal was to fulfill God's wishes." "Ow." Zenobia received a pang of pain in her head. "But now that I know he is dead and has been for a long time, I have no goal. When I joined Rias' peerage, she showed me what type of goals I should strive for. And now I have found that goal," Zenobia said, determined. "But what is that, Zenobia?" Issei felt like he was going to regret asking this question. "To have your child," Zenobia declared boldly. "Zenobia, you are too young to have a child. Sai, maybe after school, then yes, we can have a child. But, do you know what it takes to have a kid?" Issei said sternly. "No, I don't. And that is why you would fail at being a mother as you are at the moment," Issei said bluntly. "Then what do you suggest?" Zenobia rose an eyebrow. "Your goal should be to get stronger and protect Rias." "I see. This has been on my mind for a while now. Ever since your slaughter over Kouh. Forgetting what he said, I've wondered why. Why were you so violent with him?" "Sai, I'll tell you." Issei began to tell Zenobia his story of him and Ervina. Ddraig would pitch in every now and then in the story. After 5 or so minutes, Issei came to the end. "So, that's the reason," Issei said. Zenobia stayed quiet throughout all of the story. Zenobia leaned on Issei's shoulder. Issei chuckled. "Come on, we've been in this box for too long. Let's go." Zenobia nodded. Issei opened the door to reveal everyone on the floor, crying. Except Ervina herself, she just looked at Issei with sadness. Even though everyone had heard the story, the orc, once before, they still wept like newborns. "Girls?" Issei was surprised to see them here. Later, all of the girls, Issei and Kouh, were in the orc. They were waiting for a specific someone. Shin. Surziches came straight out of the magic circle on the floor. "Hello everyone." Surziches greeted. Surziches saw that Grafia was happy, and so he smiled, knowing that her love was returned in the same way. "Hello Issei." "Surziches? What's the occasion?" Issei got up and shook Surziches' hand. "Just came here. Because Parents' Day is tomorrow and I wanted to see how my lovely sister is doing." Rias grew embarrassed. "Brother." Rias screamed. Surziches chuckled. "I take it that Seraphil will be present at the Parents' Day event." "That is correct, Issei. She is annoyed that her sister didn't tell her about it. That, and also we have a meeting with Azazel and Michael to talk about forms of peace." "Well, Sona won't like that Chess coming tomorrow. She will be too embarrassed." "Knowing Sona, yeah, she won't be able to tolerate her sister," Rias said. "Suppose I should go tell her?" "Don't Issei." "Huh? Why not? She needs to be prepared." Rias just stared at Issei. "What? Oh, come on Rias. This is my other bishop and fiancé we are talking about here." Everyone's eyes widened. "Issei. What do you mean by that?" Rias asked. "Fine. I won against Sona 10 times in a row within 15 minutes. Happy." Rias, her peerage, Surziches and Grafia became so surprised they didn't say anything for a couple of minutes. Issei just left before things become chaotic. Issei made his way to Sona and told her of her sister's arrival tomorrow and about the 3-way peace meeting, to which Sona panicked. "Issei. Why is she coming here, other than the meeting?" "But, I specifically made it so that she wouldn't know about it." Sona was freaking out and tightly grabbing onto her hair. "Sona, it's fine. I will make sure that she won't do anything embarrassing." Issei tried to reassure Sona. "But, what if she tries to attack you?" Sona stared off into the abyss. "What if she finds out that we are engaged?" Issei laughed at this. "Ahahaha. You do know who your fiancé is, right?" "Hello, third heavenly dragon here." Issei pointed to himself in pride. "Trust me. Your sister can't do shit to me. My dragon aura, which has its own consciousness, would burn and melt her own aura and ice powers before she would even try to harm me," Issei said with a stern and confident tone. Sona took a deep breath to calm down. Okay, Issei. I believe you. Next day. Issei arrived at school and sat down at his desk. Good morning, class. I'm your new homeroom teacher. My name is Hyoudou, Graphia said, walking inside the classroom. All of the boys mulled over her figure. Issei smirked, knowing that they will never be able to score someone like her. We have a new student as well, please. Introduce yourself. Greetings everyone. My name is Zenobia Quarta. I transferred here from Italy, please take good care of me. Zenobia bowed. Okay, Zenobia, go and sit in that chair over there. Graphia pointed to a seat near to Issei. As you all know, it is Parents' Day. So, parents, come and take a seat. Graphia gestured. The parents, the students, even Tiamat, and surprisingly Ddraig was there. The male parents and male students looked toward Tiamat, and Ddraig growled at them to mind their own damn business. The same on Tiamat's end was the same for the females, with the exception for Graphia, Asia, Kaneko and Zenobia, who looked and gawked at Ddraig, eyeballing him like a piece of tasty meat. So, class, we are going to be clay sculpting. Everyone will get a piece of clay. If anyone wants more, then just ask. Graphia pulled out a block of clay. Issei looked at the block gray of clay. I could make everyone that I see as family. Or. Issei grinned. This gray dot cough, Mr. Luca. Issei spoke out to Graphia. Yes, Mr. Hyoudou. Graphia smiled. May I have more clay, please? By all means. You must be creating a grand masterpiece. Graphia's smile became wider. Thank you. In a way, I guess you could interpret it as such. Issei went back to his table while carrying a dozen or so clay blocks. Issei opened his window with everyone staring at him. Issei then chucked out all of the clay into the open. The parents and the students looked on in shock. After that, Issei launched himself out of the same window. Landing on the ground, Issei performed an agile forwards roll. He stood there thinking on how to do his masterpiece. Everyone waited in anticipation. Issei got the image in his mind and used a concealment magic, then snapped his fingers. The blocks of clay floated in the air, to which they ended up combining into each other into a giant ball of said clay. Issei then proceeded to manipulate the structure's shape into that of his image. Bingo! Issei said proudly. In front of him stood a 5-meter version of his dragon form, the Juggernaut Drive, Draig's dragon form, his mother's dragon form, and Tannen's dragon form, with Rias, Akeno, Vali, Graphia, Kaneko, Asia, Zenobia, Irina, Kiba, Tosca, Azazel, Surziches, Venelana, Serafo, Sona, and lastly at the very front of them all, was Ervina in her human form. The models then quickly saturated in color. Perfection. Issei said, smiling, proud of his work. Issei took down the concealment to reveal his work. Everyone was astonished. Graphia, Asia, Kaneko and Zenobia all had blushes on their faces. From another room, Rias, Akeno and Vali could see Issei's work, to which they all blushed hard as well. Surziches, Venelana and Zeodicus, who is the father of both Surziches and Rias, stared at the model as well. The three were astounded. Zeodicus. Wow. I'm jealous. Zeodicus said. Lunch. Lunch came and everyone was walking around with their parents. There's a magical girl in the auditorium, one guy said. Issei knew who the guy was mentioning. So well, better get a move on before she makes a scene. Issei followed along. Hey. What is going on here? Everyone scram. Saji tried to scold the lecherous boys taking photos of a certain overly bountiful Leviathan. And you. Saji went to scold the cosplayer. But was held back by Issei. That was then Rias and her peerage arrived. I wouldn't if I were you, Saji. Issei held out his arm like a guardrail. Hey, what gives? Saji retorted. Trust me, this is a person you wouldn't want to tango with. Issei turned his attention to the Leviathan. Oh, Serafol. Issei shouted, gaining Serafal's attention. Ooh-oh. Issei. Serafal practically leapt into Issei's arms. Rias and the others saw how Issei being so casual around the most powerful female devil in the underworld, and they were stumped. Hello, Serah. Issei said as Serafal dug into his chest. I missed you, you know. Issei chuckled. I'm sure you have. Suo, how's So Tan doing? She's doing wonderful. However, she did have a bit of a meltdown yesterday. Issei said, making Serafal become defensive. What happened? Is she hurt? Serafal said while being worried. No, not physically, but mentally. Issei scratched his cheek. What do you mean? Well, I told her that you was coming, so she proceeded to have a meltdown in front of me. Serafal was completely stunned. What is going on here? Another voice could be heard. So Tan. Oh, no, Sona thought. A second later, a sentient glass jug with a red liquid inside of it busted through the wall. Oh, yeah. One. Everyone just stood still. I'll leave. The Kool-Aid man said, seeing himself out the building. That was weird. Anyway. Issei said confused. So Tan, I'm so excited to see you. What's the matter, you look sad? Your face is all red, aren't happy to finally be with your big sister again. Serafal said jovially. Sona was struggling to keep her composure and Issei saw this. Issei went up to Sona and hugged her. It's okay, Sona. Try to bear with it. Sona went red at the affection. But welcomed it wholeheartedly. Serafal saw this and pouted. Moo, Issei. I want some lovin' too. Sona looked at her sister then at Issei. Issei, what does she mean by that? I might also be engaged to Serafal. I never acknowledged it back then as I was still going through my grief of losing Ervina. Sona was simply stunned. How did that happen? Well, to put it into short terms. I saved Serafal from almost being killed and raped by a certain demonic entity. And because of that the council wanted me to marry Serah. I wasn't against it, but nor was I for it. I said to them that it was Serafal's choice to whom she would marry. Issei smiled wryly. Sona was flabbergasted. And obviously I agreed. Because that was when I fell for Issei. And this was before you or even Rias were born. Serafal replied happily. Issei was like an guardian angel of mine, descending down from the sky in my time of need. He looked so powerful, so handsome. Serafal was now in her own imaginary world. Sona, Rias and the other girls that were present also started to imagine Issei saving them from a thing or someone. Even though Issei already saved Rias from her marriage. It didn't stop her from imagining something else. So, about the meeting this evening. Issei switched the subject. Oh, yes, that will take place in Sona's council room. Serafal said more professionally. Well, I guess for now. Let's just get Parents' Day over and done with. Issei said. The other agreed with him. I will see you around Serah, Sona. Issei gave them both a kiss, taking their first kisses. Serafal and Sona blushed. Sona more so. Issei left the auditorium and bumped into Zeodicus and Venelana. Oh, Venelana. How are you getting along, Zeodicus giving you any trouble? Venelana smiled at her old master's protectiveness. He's been just fine, Issei. Good. 'Cause he knows what I would do to him if he ever did anything in any way to hurt you. Issei stood with crossed arms. Zeodicus gulped in fear. Rias was just in the back and could hear everything. Hearing how protective Issei is towards her mother makes Rias feel safe and protected. Same with the other girls. Zeodicus. Issei said ominously. Zeodicus gulped again. Issei. Issei passed them by and continued on walking. Serziches came up to Rias and told her that she's ready to control her bishop other. Issei get curious and tagged along. Beneath the orc. Issei and the orc were standing in front of two large wooden door with no entry tape wrapped around it. So, this is the room you guys were talking about. That's correct, Issei. Inside is a damper. He can be a bit eccentric. Rias replied. Rias used her magic to destroy the no entry tape on the door. The doors slowly ajarred themselves. The high-pitched screech was heard. Asper, it's okay now, you can come out. Rias spoke in a calm and sweet tone. Nuo. It's scary out there. So, that is his name, Gasper. Issei smiled. Issei peeked inside to see a pale little kid. Asper Vladi. 4. Well, who knew the kid was into crossdressing? Whatever floats your boat. Issei thought. Hey Gasper. Who are you? Gasper stepped back. I'm a lot of things. But, you may call me Issei or Ice, whatever you prefer. Issei stuck his hand out. Eek. Gasper tried to run away. But, Issei grabbed a hold of his hand, kneeling down at him. How are you not affected? Gasper became surprised. That is simple, Gasper. I'm a heavenly dragon, and we heavenly dragons can't be affected by the power over time. Unless it is made by beings stronger than us. And the only beings stronger than us are the dragon gods. That is why. Issei smiled at him. Issei spoke once again. If you will allow me. I can train you to get the basics in controlling your sacred gear. Issei saw a bit of Gasper's fears clear, but not all of them. How do you suppose I do that? Imagine a person or a thing that you want to help or save, and you need more power to do that. Gasper thought. Help or want to save someone important to me. An image of a girl the same age as Gasper popped up into his mind. Valerie. I will save you, I promise. Gasper grit his teeth in frustration. Issei saw the determination that Gasper now has and smiled. When do we start? Gasper stared at Issei with a determined face. Time resumed like normal, and everyone was looking at Gasper and his newfound determination to get stronger. Issei, what happened? You was by our side just a second ago. Rias was confused. Simple, Gasper's sacred gear that controls the principle of time does not affect me. While time was frozen. Me and Gasper had a little talk, and now he wants stronger for a certain someone. Issei smiled at Rias. Gasper blushed. Master? Gasper shouted in embarrassment. Issei laughed while the other giggled. Time skip. Rias and Akeno had taken Kiba to Surzich's because he wanted to see Kiba new balance breaker. Hours had gone by and Gasper's training was going really well. Azazel had visited and greeted everyone then left because Kiba wasn't there. Gasper was now able to stop multiple objects simultaneously. And Issei taught Gasper simple hand-to-hand combat skills. All in all, Gasper was getting better and better. Student council room, evening. Surzich's side by side with Serafal, Michael, who was accompanied by Gabriel and Azazel who was alone, were all sitting at a large rounded table inside of the council room. As they were all discussing about political matters, Issei opened through the door with his peerages, and everyone with their peerages in tow. Some new additions to his team was also noticed. Those were Kuroka, Biku, Arthur and his sister Lefei. Kuroka took 2 mutated pawns, Biku took a mutated rook, Arthur was Issei's only knight, Lefei took 1 pawn as well. Good evening, everyone. Issei greeted. The 2 devil kings, the 2 Saras and Azazel looked at Issei and smiled at him. Good evening, Issei. These are my new members. Rias and Sona are my bishops, Grafia is my queen, Biku here is my rook, Arthur is my knight, Vali, Lefei, Kuroka and Arena are my pawns. Pleasure to meet some new faces and nice to see old ones as well. Surzich's smiled. Alright. Let's get this meeting underway. Azazel said lazily. Everyone gathered around the table. With the Great War almost revitalized because of Kakabiel's actions, this peace is more important than ever. Surzich's spoke professionally and serious. And I apologize under his behalf. Azazel apologized. Rias, Sona. Could you hand over the statement with what happened with Kakabiel? Rias handed her brother the document. Kakabiel came to Kouh with the 3 Excalibur fragments that were stolen from the churches. The genocide archbishop, Valper Galilei and Fried Selzen, the insane ex-exorcist were present as well. Rias summarized. Good. Thank you, Rias, Sona. Surzich's smiled at them. Might I add something, Zetches? Issei spoke. You may. Thank you. Kakabiel's goal was not to just kill Rias and Sona, but also to crush their morale. Surzich's and Serafal were pissed to mention of Kakabiel wanting to kill their sisters. I see. Thank you. For the input. Surzich's said, containing his anger. Azazel, there have been rumors that you have been collecting sacred gears over the past years. Surzich's stated. That is correct. I'm more of a scientist and collector. I'm against the thought of war. I like this era and I want nothing to change. Azazel answered. Surzich's smiled at this. Peace is just what all we angels want. We can't afford any more death and casualties. Because of the Judgement Dragon here. He has helped us in many dire situations and brought us closer to peace anyone ever has. Michael said. Let's ask the White Dragon Emperor and the Judgement Dragon. Azazel said. Ali spoke up. Before I joined Issei's peerage, my answer would have been I want to fight strong opponents. But now that has changed. I just want to be with Issei and get stronger alongside him. Issei nodded to Vali to say he approved of her choice. Issei then stepped forward with his dragonic aura leaking out of him. You all should know by now that my goal is to kill the people who helped kill my beloved Ervina and my unborn child. With Kakabiel killed by my hand, there is only one more being for me to hunt. And that is Rizavim himself. While nothing has changed, I have accepted to let others into my heart and because of that, I now fight for them and will protect them with every fiber of my being. Issei stood confidently with his aura covering the ground like a mist and his eyes glowing brightly. Michael has a point. I agree to the peace. Azazel smiled. Us too. Michael smiled as well. Same here. Surzich's smiled in unison. Sniff sniff. Everyone turned their attention to Issei once again. They noticed that his eyes turned to glowing slits. The Terrier Leviathan. Issei growled out. Everyone became surprised that a descendant of Leviathan was trying to crash this meeting. Almost immediately after, multiple circles spawned in the sky. Countless mages came out of the circles and started to fire upon the school, which to be honest was not doing anything. Bali, you wanted to fight someone. Entertain yourself with the cannon fodder. Issei directed. Bali grinned. About time. Vanishing dragon balance breaker. Bali shot out of the building and rocketed towards the mages. While she was busy with that, a purple mage circle appeared and out came the person Issei smelled. Kateria Leviathan. Kateria Leviathan. Greetings, Surzich's Lucifer. Kateria greeted. But not in a friendly tone. Kateria. Serafal said. Kateria turned her attention to Serafal. Well, if it isn't Serafal Leviathan. I will serve your head on a pike and claim back what belongs to me. Oof. Kateria was launched through the wall of the building. Everyone's attention was drawn to Issei, who was in the Doom Slayer position with smoke emanating from his mouth and his eyes glowing brightly. Issei walked to the hole that he made and peered out of it. Kateria had a shocked expression and wheezing in pain while lying on the ground. Where is Rizavum live and Lucifer? Issei shouted in his dragonic voice. Ah, I'll never tell. Kateria spit out blood on the floor. Oh, I will make you tell. I will make you scream his location. And so, Issei began his brutal assault onto the Leviathan descendant. Ugh. Kateria was flung with great force and bounced multiple times on the ground until she stopped. The foot that was covered in red dragonic armor rolled the beaten and hopeless devil to face him. Tell me, where is Lucifer is hiding? Issei, who was in his balance breaker, roared at Kateria. Growl. Boost. 5 minutes before. Oh, I will make you tell. I will make you scream his location. Issei started to beat down on Kateria's face. Kateria, who still had some semblance of consciousness remaining, dodged Issei's fist that was going to pound her deeper into the ground. The impact with Issei's fist made a large crater. As dust and debris cleared, Kateria could see the glowing eyes of a pissed-off dragon, the symbol of death. The breath hitch inside of her as fear started to well up. However, despite that, she was determined to bring him down. She was a Leviathan after all, she could not be killed by this thing. Take this dragon. Kateria used her staff, which she carried in hand, to channel he magic and shoot a destructive projectile at Issei. But Issei swatted it away like it was a fly. Kateria was stunned at this. He dismissed it like I was nothing. I will not be denied my right to my throne. Rah. Kateria channeled a lot of magical energy into the staff. The destructive spell or ability she was using was going to leave her drained after that is. If it wasn't for Kateria injecting herself with a blackish-purple substance into her arm. But that her magical capabilities and energy replenished and went above even more than what she could handle. Issei recognized the substance and grew in even more anger. Issei knew OPHIS personally, and she may be the dragon god of infinity. But she had the mind of an innocent and naive child. Seeing someone use his friend's power for their own gains pissed him off even more. You're using my friend's power. For your own twisted ideals. Issei growled. So, you know OPHIS. Yes, I am using her power. Oh, and let me tell you something. She has no friends. She doesn't deserve any. What she deserves is to be milked for power that we the old Satan faction can use. Kateria stood proudly. You fucked up, bitch. You fucked with the wrong dragon. Ddraig said to himself. Issei stood still. As a dragon, who holds pride in the highest regard, to hear another dragon, a dragon god no less, get demoralized this low. This is simply unacceptable. Welsh dragon balance breaker. Issei's power skyrocketed from heavenly dragon class to that of a dragon god's. I will make you regret being born. Everyone around the world. The Norse, Greek, Hindu, Shinto mythologies, heaven and the underworld, felt the raw and unbridled power of a dragon god. Every single god was either shiding themselves or cowering under their beds. Even gods that ruled over the principle of war feared the power and rage of the dragon god class entity. Somewhere in a black abyss, dimensional gap. A giant red 100-meter dragon with 4 wings flew around doing some spirals and loops. This was Great Red. Then the being felt a colossal amount of energy. HHHMMM. The dragon of judgment is pissed. I wonder why. In the far distance away from the devil society in the underworld. The girl with black hair and dark gray emotionless eyes, who wore a gothic Lolita dress, sat on a chair alone in a room, occupying herself by playing with her snakes that were made out her own limitless energy. This was OPHIS. Issei. He's mad. I need to calm him down. OPHIS thought to herself. OPHIS then prepared a magic circle to teleport to Issei. Back at the school. Issei raged with the strength of a dragon god. Throwing, punching, kicking, burning, and tearing Kateria in two. But she was not granted salvation. Instead, the only thing that slithered her way was agonizing pain, trauma. Aya. Please stop. I'm sorry. Just no more, please, I beg you. Kateria begged for her life. Standing before her was the tall silhouette of Issei in his balance breaker, with the shadows covering most of his front. Bright green eyes glowed through the shadow. Issei spoke in his dragonic voice, but it was more terrifying. Sorry. All out of mercy. Issei then kicked Kateria so hard that she bounced on the ground multiple times until coming to a stop. Converging past and present. Ddraig called out. Everyone that was surveying the fight sweated and struggled to stand on their feet. Where is he? Issei grabbed Kateria by the throat and held her up high. With each boost, Issei got more stronger. Kateria was scared. So much so that she prayed to the dead god to save her. Issei pulled Kateria closer. Tell me where Rizavum is and I will spare your meaningless life. Please. I tell you everything. Kateria was starting to turn blue. Ugh. Everyone couldn't fight against the gravity anymore and they all fell down to the ground. Note. In terms of boosting. 1 boost is equivalent to OPHIS in power. 2 boosts is equivalent to Great Red in power, and 3 boosts and more, Issei can take on anyone in the DxD verse. Meaning 3 plus boosts is equivalent to Great Red, OPHIS and Trahexa in power combined. Plus this with the balance breaker. Issei is essentially unkillable. Behind Issei a purple circle spawned on the ground and out came OPHIS. Issei turned his head slightly. OPHIS. Hello Issei. OPHIS came him a smile. Reset. Issei deactivated his armor and his power level lowered back down to normal. Looking back at Kateria. Kateria, for your transgressions of terrorism, mass homicide and resulting in creating more countless deaths through war. Your verdict is death. Issei smashed Kateria's head into the ground, killing her instantly. Issei then let go of Kateria's lifeless body. He turned around to face OPHIS and stood opposite her as she stood parallel to him. They came closer to one another and embraced in a hug. What are you doing here OPHIS? Issei questioned. Here to calm you down. You are angry. OPHIS answered. Issei sighed and a thought came to him. Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone? OPHIS looked over at the dazed members of the meeting. Yes, I would like to get to know Issei's friends and mates. OPHIS said with a smile. Issei and OPHIS proceeded to walk over the large group. When everyone got out of their daze they went on the defensive. Surzicha said to Issei. Issei, why is OPHIS here? Genuinely, I do not know. If I had to guess, she felt my outburst of power and came here. Issei looked towards OPHIS. She's the leader of the Kouh's brigade. Issei shook his head. No, you got that wrong Zetches. If anything she's only a mascot, a head figure. Surzichas and the others grew confused. OPHIS, tell them what you told me before. OPHIS nodded. Baka Red kicked me out of my home, I seek my silence. The place I was born in the dimensional gap. I sought out powerful beings to help me defeat Baka Red. Azazel said intrigued. And who might those be? OPHIS answered. The descendants of the original Devil Kings. Everyone's breaths hitched except Issei's. Why? Surzichas narrowed his eyes at OPHIS, who stared at him with her emotionless ones. They promised to help me take down Baka Red. Issei cut in. And this is the naivety of OPHIS, Zetches. She can't tell who is lying to her. Even Kateria said that they use OPHIS for power. Is that why you was so pissed off earlier? Azazel questioned. Yes, Kateria said a few things about OPHIS. OPHIS is a really good friend of mine. From one dragon to another it is a responsibility that if a dragon's pride is insulted by someone, the dragon is to reclaim that pride, and if that dragon is unable to, then another must do it for them. He speaks the truth. Both Ddraig and Albion said simultaneously. Everyone focused on the voices emanating from the gears. Even though before the Great War and our deaths, I would hear a lot of shit being said about Albion. So, I would kill those who soiled his pride. And I would do the same. Though we had a rivalry, our dragon pride never allowed us to let beings such as devils, angels or even gods, to talk bad about the other. Everyone listened intently. Is that why Issei got mad? Because someone said bad things about me? OPHIS looked at Issei. Issei crouched down to OPHIS's height. Yes. Kateria said things that pissed me off, that was about you. OPHIS tilted her head. What did she say? Issei sighed. She said that you have no friends and that you don't deserve any. She also said that you deserve to be milked for power that the old Satan faction could use for their own gain. More than likely to create even more chaos and destruction. They were never going to assist you with obtaining your silence. Even though OPHIS is emotionless. Issei could see that she was sad. Issei hugged OPHIS in an embrace that brought comfort. Issei, what it is this feeling? It's sadness OPHIS. Sadness is an emotion that makes you feel bad. For example, what would you feel if I died? Issei let go of OPHIS and stared into her eyes. I wouldn't like it. I would hate it. I would seek out the person that killed you and make him suffer. OPHIS said innocently. Everyone that was watching on the sidelines came to see OPHIS for what she truly was, an innocent and naive child. Nom. Randomly out of nowhere, OPHIS leaned forward and bit Issei on his neck, injecting her energy marking him as her mate. Everyone stared with widened eyes. Even the dragons inside both Issei and Vali had their eyes wide in surprise. OPHIS let go after marking him and proceeded to hug his body. My mate. Ooh. Issei stared off into the abyss. What? Everyone screamed in disbelief with jaws open. A few seconds later Issei snapped out of his daze. OPHIS, why did you do that? OPHIS looked up to him while still hugging. I felt the need to. You are kind, brave, strong. I will discard my goal for silence as long as I'm near you. I will also leave the Kouh's brigade. Issei was in disbelief himself. What is going on? Issei said in his mind. Ahahahahaha. My son has scored the dragon god's heart. I am so proud of you. I can't wait to tell your mother. Ddraig shouted out loud. It took minutes for everyone to calm down and come to their senses. But the peace meeting now concluded. Xerxes and Serapho left. Issei confronted Michael about allowing Asia and Zenobia to pray again, to which Michael agreed to his request. Both Asia and Zenobia felt really grateful to Issei. By the time they arrived home, which had been refurbished thanks to Xerxes. His house was already big enough before. But now it was a 6-story mansion. Issei just accepted it and entered the building. The maids went to do the duties they missed out on, and Issei went upstairs to sleep as it had been a long day. Due to the renovation of his house, Issei had a way much more spacious bed that could fit everyone in. And that is exactly what happened. As always, Issei woke up with his girls all hugging his body, although with some new additions. Issei looked at the new girls that clung to him. Office. I understand Sona, Abigail and the others. But, office. Must be a new mate thing. Everyone slowly awoke from their sleep. Good morning, Issei. Most of the girls said. Good morning, girls. Issei flashed them his smile. All of them blushed except Office. She just smiled back. Morning, my mate. Office said. Good morning, Office. Issei smiled. Everyone got off of Issei. Rias spoke. Issei, for the summer holiday, we as in me and Sona with our peerages have to return to the underworld. Let me come with. It would be nice to see Tannen and Benelana again. Rias said in a happy tone. Really? You're coming along with us? Haha, yes. Both of you are in my peerage, so I need to be by your side as your king. Oh. And that reminds me. I wonder. Rias wanted to know what Issei was thinking. What are you thinking? Issei went up to Office. Office, would you like to join my peerage? Rias and everyone else was flabbergasted. Issei, are you sure that's a good idea? Rias said with shock. Well, I want to test if I can bring a dragon god into my peerage. What better being than Office to take that place? Office gave it some thought. Me? In Issei's peerage I get to be closer to my mate. Office came out of her thinking and said. Okay, I will join. Issei smiled. Alright. Issei started to think. Grafia is my queen, Rias and Sona are my bishops, Biku is my first rook, Arthur is my first knight, Kuroka and Vali both took 2 pawns each, Irina and Lafay took 1 pawn each as they were human before. That's 11 pieces I've expended. I have 4 left. So, that means I have 2 pawns, 1 knight and 1 rook left. I feel like Office can be more versatile with the pawns as she's an incredibly powerful being already. Issei concluded the math. So, I have a spare rook, knight and 2 pawns. But, I don't think that the rook or the knight piece will work on you. The pawn pieces are the only ones that I think will benefit you in the long run. Office nodded. I don't care what piece I am. As long as I'm near you, that is fine by me. Issei knew that the pawns at their current level work. Take Office however. Boost transfer. Issei boosted the pawns to increase their ability to withstand Office's unlimited power. Alright, let's see if this works. Issei said with hope in his heart. Issei began to chant. With the power that I hold within me. I, Issei Hyoudou, the Judgement Dragon, make you bound to my will and make you my servant as my final and last pawn. Fight for me and fight with me. Office, the Dragon God of Infinity, you have accepted this piece as it has accepted you. Awaken to the court of jury. The 2 pawn pieces floated in place for a second and changed. The 2 pieces went from red, blue and white to void black, red and blue in coloration, and after their transformation was done, they inserted themselves into Office's chest, making her Issei's strongest and final pawn. When the pawns connected to her, she could feel the power. Maybe I can take on Baka Red now. Wow. I actually can't believe that worked. Issei said in surprise. You didn't know it would work, did you? Rias said with disbelief. No, I didn't, that's why I wanted to test it. I'm so glad it did. Issei replied. With Office as Issei's new and last pawn, she thought she could knock 2 birds with 1 stone. Defeat Great Red and be closer to her mate. Issei and everyone that was in his bed, which is basically everyone, except the males and Tiamat, walk downstairs and have breakfast as they get ready for the day ahead. As it was the summer holiday. Which meant no school for them. Someone knocked on the door of the house. Issei answered and found out it was a smiling Rainer, a blushing Kalawarna and Millet with suitcases in their hands. Oh. Girls, great timing. 1 sec. Issei shut the door. Issei turned to the girls who were busy with whether it be appearance or organizing luggage. Issei clapped his hands, gaining everyone's attention. Everyone. The 3 individuals I talked about the other day are here. Whatever you do, don't attack them. Issei opened the large main doors. Come on in, girls. Issei said with a charming smile that melted the hearts of everyone. Tiamat sat next to Ddraig on the couch with a smirk. Ddraig was the same. They knew their son would have more mates in the future and that equal to more grandchildren to spoil. Tiamat wanted to be a grandparent sooner. Ddraig just told Issei to take it slow and to not rush things. Rias and her peerage went on the defensive and protected Asia. Issei knew this would happen. I knew this would happen. Issei muttered. Rias, stand down. Issei raised and lowered his hand. But they tried to kill Asia. Rias shouted. I know, Rias. I was there. Rainer and the two other fallen slowly walked over to Asia, who was being protected by her king and fellow member. Rainer, Kalawarna and Millet kneeled to the ground in front of them, which shocked them. We are sorry for what we did, Asia. Issei had given us a third chance when we were not so deserving of it. We ignored his second chance at redemption. Issei has rebuilt us emotionally and mentally in a new light, and we are thankful to him for that. Asia came forward and kneeled down to the crying Rainer. It's okay, Ray. I forgive you. Asia looked at the others. All of you. Issei smiled. Rainer, Kalawarna, Millet have some time to get to know the girls. After that we are off to the underworld. Rainer and the others nodded. After a while of getting to know one another, they set off for the train station. Tiamat teleported to the underworld as business as usual, and Ddraig went back into the gear. Issei and everyone else along with Azazel, who met up with them halfway through the journey, was teasing both he and Vali. Issei grew annoyed at Azazel's antics, while Vali couldn't stop blushing. Azazel, knock it off, will you? You're making Vali here uncomfortable. Issei facepalmed. I'm not allowed to tease my nephew and daughter, Azazel said with a jovial smile. Issei sighed. They all enter an area which humans to go and a wall turned into an elevator. Issei was not surprised. After reaching the bottom of the station, two spectacular trains with very intricate designs came into view. One was black and red, while the other was blue and white. These were the Gremory and Citri families' personal trains. So why do we have to ride these trains? Thought we could just teleport to the underworld, Rainer asked. Issei replied before anyone else. It is simple, those who have never set foot in the underworld, mainly Asia, Zenobia, Irina, Arthur, Kouh and Lefay, need to be registered. If not, that can be classified as illegal entry. Rainer then clicked. Ooh. That makes a lot of sense. The Citri peerage separated into their designated train, but not before Sona gave Issei a kiss on the lips for good luck. That's my first kiss, Sona said, blushing like a little schoolgirl. Saji grew jealous and furious until Sona smacked him on the head. After winning against Sona in the chess match, she had a meeting with all of her peerage to say that Issei was now her fiancé. Saji couldn't take this lying down and exploded with anger. Tsubaki had to knock his ass out for a few hours. Issei boarded the Gremory train along with his two peerages, Rias, her peerage and Azazel. As both trains set off for their separate territories, Azazel slept, as per usual. The ex-church girls looked around the train. Bali, Rias and Akeno talked with each other. Issei just relaxed and closed his eyes with a smile on his face. This is much more like it, eh dad? Peace, no more fights. No more bloodshed. Unless I make it so. That it is, son. But, you know the saying. The calm before the storm. Both said in unison. You remember their test that you and Azazel set for them, right? The one with Tannen? Yeah, I remember. Why? Issei questioned. Thought you would have forgotten. Issei shook his head. The gentleman in old-fashioned train conductor attire came through. Greetings everyone. I am Ronaldo, the person who owns this train and takes the Gremory members to and fro. Lady Rias, Red Dragon Emperor, it is good to see you again. Ronaldo bowed to Rias. It is good to see you as well, Ronaldo. Rias greeted back. Ditto, Ronaldo. Issei smiled. Ronaldo took out a handheld machine. So, may I have your names please? Those who were new to the Gremory train said their names. Beja Argento, I'm a bishop. Nice to meet you. Zenobia Quarta, knight. The brunette bluntly said. Rainer, I'm a fallen angel. Kalawarna, fallen as well. Millet, same here too. All three of the fallen stepped forward. Arthur Pendragon, human and serving Issei Hyoudou as his knight. In a serious tone. Kouh, son of the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. And Arukan, Issei's peerage. Kuroka, Naya. One of Issei's pawns. Ex-devil. Kuroka said in a playful tone. Ronaldo spotted Grafia. Lady Grafia, I almost didn't see you there. My apologies. Ronaldo then bowed in respect. It is alright, Ronaldo. No need to apologize. Grafia smiled. May I ask? Why are you here and not with Master Surziches? Grafia then attached her body to Issei. It's because I'm his queen and one of his lovers. Ronald grew surprised. I thought that you and Master Surziches were together. This made Grafia giggle. No, Ronaldo. Me and Surziches are more like siblings, plus he's already got a wife in Milikus. I see. Then I apologize for assuming. Like I said before, you have nothing to apologize for. Grafia smiled. Ronaldo nodded and looked at OPHIS, who shared Issei's lap with Kaneko and looked back at him. Ronaldo widened his eyes in shock. The infinite dragon god. Issei spoke up. Don't be alarmed, Ronaldo. She means no harm, that and she's in my peerage as a two-piece pawn. Ronaldo's breath hitched. Come again. She's your pawn. That's correct, Ronaldo. And she's one of my mates as well. Issei said while smiling. Oh okay. Ronaldo fumbled with his fingers due to high nerves. Note to self. Never provoke the red dragon or anyone he is affiliated with. Ronaldo said to himself while tugging at his collar. Ronaldo went back to the front of the train. Everything was relaxing for a while until the announcement was made. We are entering the Gremory territory. Ronaldo said through the speaker. Everyone besides Issei, Grafia, Azazel, Rias and those who have been in the Gremory territory before went to the window and gaped at the magnificent view ahead of them. Underworld, Gremory territory. Everyone that were staring out of the window was amazed. Wow. So beautiful. Asia spoke with amazement. Yeah, it is the Gremory's own land that is the size of the Honshu section of Japan. Issei interjected. Azazel woke up from his nap and ushered Issei to go with him. Issei, we need to do that thing, remember? I remember, no need to get your wings in a twist. Issei got up and went to follow Azazel out of the car with OPHIS on Issei's shoulders. But Issei was stopped by Rias. Issei, where are you going? He turned around and said. Me and Azazel need to do something. We will be back after that. Issei then left. Soon after, the whole train disappeared, which left all of those on the train falling in the air. As everyone was falling, a shadow flew over them. What was that? Rainer spoke. They closed in on the ground, spread their wings and landed softly, but some harder than others. Everyone alright? Rias said with caution. We're alright, Rias. Rias let out a sigh in relief. What the hell was that? Kouh cursed. Whatever it was, it is not good. Grafia took charge as she was the most experienced. Everyone, band together and watch each other's backs. We aren't alone. Crash. In front of them, debris and dust covered the field. As the dust dissipated, a 15-meter purple dragon was revealed. Tannen. Everyone form up, this is a high-tier ultimate class we are dealing with here. Working together is the only way we can do any harm to him. Grafia commanded. Everyone nodded in affirmation. Brah. Tannen charged forward with his eyes glowing ominously. Grafia tried to immobilize Tannen's legs to stop him from moving any closer. Knights, you first. Arthur, Kibba, Layla, Delilah try to sever his tendons at his Achilles heel. Grafia directed. The knights rushed forwards. Arthur, who branded Caliburn and Excalibur ruler, sliced through one of Tannen's heels easily. Kibba, Layla and Delilah struck at the purple dragon's other heel. But the scales were too thick for the sword of betrayer to cut through. Layla and Delilah branded their own swords that held holy auras. However, these swords made a few grazes on the scales, nothing more. We need a dragon slayer. Kibba said. Kibba concentrated his energy and imagined a sword with very detailed design. Issei trained me every day and told me to expand my arsenal. So that is exactly what I did. I don't have a name for this thing yet. I was thinking somewhere along the lines of insurgency. Kibba held his newly constructed blade in a stance. He put everything into his legs to launch himself at Tannen's ankles. Ha! Kibba swung and the sharp blade pierced through the scales, and Tannen grunted, showing that the attack worked. Now, volley, Kuroka promote to Rook, Kaneko, Kouh, all four of you attempt to knock him down on the ground. Those that were assigned by Grafia nodded. Both Kuroka and Kaneko infused their fists with Senjutsu and Tauki to increase the output of their punch. Ha! Kouh used his staff, the Rai Jingu Bang. Extend. Vanishing Dragon Balance Breaker. Bali was engulfed in her balance breaker and flew towards Tannen with a shit-eating grin as she cocked her leg back for a wind-up. Both of the Senjutsu Tauki infused fists, the impact of the staff and Bali's kick, sent Tannen back farther than they thought. Divide. Tannen was in obvious pain and grunted as his stamina was halved. These stunned. Bishops, queens and those that can promote finish him off. With the last command given. Grafia, Rias, Akeno, Abigail, Joanne, Lydia and LaFay who promoted to bishop all powered up. After a few seconds they fired their magic or clan abilities. They all struck and did extensive damage to Tannen's body. But Tannen still stood tall and let all of his aura loose. Not as strong as Issei, but still powerful. Akeno said. We can do this. We cannot give up. Rias said to everyone. Time skip. 10 minutes later. Tannen and the three peerages can be seen to be heavily exhausted and badly beaten. Tannen knocked out most of the ex-church turned dragon peerage and a few members of Rias peerage, namely Kibba, Kaneko and Gasper. Rias, Akeno, Abigail were half conscious with their clothes torn and ripped. Grafia was breathing rapidly. Bali had her balance breaker broken a few times but still got back up. Kuroka timed out to rest with her sister as she wasn't faring well either. Arthur worried for his sister who had already been out for a while. Kouh was bitch slapped in the jaw and sent flying. He then scraped along the floor until he came to a stop on the ground. So that's how he was out of commission. Imagine Nero that bitch slapped Dante to the ground in Devil May Cry 5, similar to that. But Tannen as Nero and Kouh as Dante. Alright, that's enough. I've seen what all of you are capable of now. Well, more than before. Issei came over a hill with OPHIS still on his shoulders and Azazel beside them to their left. Issei? You and Azazel orchestrated this? Rias said exhausted. Yes, as Grafia had said, this is Tannen, the ex-Dragon King. Now a reincarnated devil who has obtained the strongest ultimate class status. Issei gestured over to the giant battered dragon. But, I'm honestly proud of all of you. You all held your ground and did well, better than I had expected. The rest of the others, awakened with Asia healing their injuries, stared up at Issei and Azazel. Tannen, how do you think they did on your end? Tannen's wounds started to heal on their own. They did brilliant. They all work well together and they hit hard. But, they do have their flaws, some in strength, some in speed and some in resilience. Except for Grafia, of course. Issei nodded. Uncle, may you give them their scheduled training regiments. At Issei's word. Azazel brought out clipboard. Rias, you are to do training with your mother to increase your efficiency and usage of your POD. Rias nodded. Akeno, you are training with Barakiel to make your holy lightning more powerful and efficient. Akeno looked down in shame. She still remembered what Issei said about her father. Kaneko, you are to train with your sister in Moriaki techniques other than Senjutsu. Kuroka, see if you can increase your base durability and speed. Both Kaneko and Kuroka nodded with determination. Hiba, you will be training with Arthur to get better at sword techniques and styles. After you both have concluded that, you are to travel to Surzich's Knight Sauji Akita to advance farther. Kiba and Arthur saluted in their stance. Asper, you are to come with me to the Grigori and train to become a man and turn your weaknesses into strengths. Gasper knew it was inevitable, so he agreed without whining. Vali, you will be training with Tannen. Vali grew her battlemanic grin again. X** peerage, all of you will be training with Tiamat to get better control over your dragon heritage and get stronger. The dragon peerage all nodded their heads. Lefay, all you need to do is increase your body resistance, durability of your body and strengthen your spells. That's all. Azazel looked over to the three fallen. However, you three will be trained by Penemu to increase your potential and your light affinities. Maybe some new extra spells to learn as well. Rainer, Kalawarna and Millet shuddered. Penemu can be sadist when it came to their training. What is Issei going to be doing? Rias questioned. I'm going to visit Surzich's and the other Mayus in a meeting. Issei spread his wings. But you have to go. Rias said dejected. Yes, it's important. Issei relayed. What is it about? Issei stood there with a scowl on his face thinking. Diodora has resurfaced. He's worse now more than ever. Everyone gasped in horror. After coming out of their shock, the dragon peerage started to hyperventilate. The girls around them tried to console them. But, you know how it is, PTSD does a lot of things to one's mind. Issei, with OPHIS now on his back, flew down to the peerage he saved and embraced them in a hug that consisted of clones, with Abigail holding and crying onto the real Issei. Girls, it's okay, I won't let him hurt any of you. He has to go through me first. And I won't be taking any chances of that happening. Issei promised to protect them, and that is what he will do. For now, I need to be at the meeting. Issei let go and flew away with OPHIS in tow. Everyone for the day were there for the dragon girls. I will find you, Asterith. And when I do, I will slaughter you. Issei's eyes glowed bright through fury and anger. Meeting room, Lucifid. In the meeting room, the four Satans were discussing matters to do with Diodora. Surzich's, you do know that is my brother you are talk about, Ajuka said with disapproval. I'm sorry, Ajuka. But it needed to be said. Surzich's apologized. That was then they heard Fabric land on the other side of the doors that led out to a balcony. The doors were slammed open in fury. Where is he? Issei roared with OPHIS behind him staring with blank eyes as always. Whoa, whoa. Issei, what happened? Surzich's was a bit startled at the sudden entrance. Diodora Asterith. Where is he? He made the girls I saved from him cry. All of the Satans could feel the rage and aura he was exuding, which put them on edge. Sai in the Cow's Brigade's main base, our spies have informed us of his placement. He has been made an apprentice under Shalba Beelzebub, the descendant of the original. Where is it? Issei growled. North, just outside of the border to Lilith. Not really a populated pla. Issei cut Surzich off. That's good enough with me. Issei said quickly, then shot through the roof, making a hole in it. He could have at least taken the exit doors or the balcony. Falbium said. That was then they felt Issei energy surge, and along it heard Issei's roar of his true form. Diodora. I will tear him apart. Diodora. Issei roared in his true form with a fury that even the beast will be afraid of. Issei shot to the location of Lilith. Lilith, in the sky. Issei appeared in a streak of light, hovering over the city. Issei could hear the fearful screams of the citizens. However, he paid them no mind. Issei then tried to determine the direction of the base's location. Issei spun around multiple times to get his bearings. Using his dragonic instincts that directed him, continued fly. Outside of the border. Issei came across the mountainous terrain and landed on his hind legs to get a good vantage point. The OPHIS was of course there with him. Issei looked around until he set his eyes on a poorly camouflaged base. Doesn't matter anyway, it was going to be nothing but rubble in the end. The OPHIS, stay here, it is dangerous for you to be seen. Kill anyone that comes too close to you. You need to keep this location secret. Issei ordered. The OPHIS nodded, not questioning him. Issei began the assault by casting an extremely strong ability that summoned dozens and dozens of large meteorite-sized fireballs and made sure they came down like raining arrows. Think of Alduin and his meteor ability from Elder Scrolls V. Skyrim. No one will leave here alive. Issei growled with rage. He then took to the sky and dive-bombed down into the middle of the base. Boom. Humming down at a speed that no one could interpret. Issei destroyed the armory and stockpiles, resulting in a chain reaction. When both exploded, any highly explosive or flammable equipment in the area exploded along with it and were engulfed in flames, resulting in a lot more casualties. Issei sealed off any escape routes, so the large population of devils, fallen, mages and some sacred gear wielders could not escape. It's the execution dragon. A devil screamed in terror. In the Kouh Brigade's meeting room. Rumble. What is going on out there? Shalba Beelzebub calmly questioned. This is Shalba Beelzebub. Maybe they are doing some testing drills or something. Diodora spoke. Not likely, they would have told us if they were doing drills today. Shalba narrowed his eyes. Then what do you think it is? All of a sudden the double doors to the meeting room were slammed open to reveal a Kouh's member out of breath and in fear. Soldier, what is going on out there? Shalba questioned. The member wheezed as he was struggling to calm down. The Wheeze execution Wheeze dragon is Wheeze here. Shalba widened his eyes and Diodora, well, he was shiting his underwear. Shalba. We need to leave. He will kill us. Diodora screamed. Not unless we kill him first. Shalba answered, walking to the doors that lead outside. Outside. Destruction and annihilation was left. Bloodied and dismembered or burned bodies scattered across the field. Shalba and Diodora gazed upon the towering figure of Issei's 80-meter dragon form in terror. I've heard the stories of Rizavam explaining about the execution dragon, but not this. Shalba shouted in his mind. Issei, who was in his dragon appearance, tried to interrogate a captive by picking him up with his overly large-sized hand. Where is Diodora Astareth? Issei growled menacingly. Diodora then realized Issei was hunting him, making the fear he was feeling increase in great proportions. The captive looked over to Diodora and Shalba. Issei followed his line of sight. Making eye contact with the green-haired shit of a devil. Issei crushed the captive without thinking and threw his lifeless corpse away. He then stood ominously as the shadows covered the right side of his body and face with one blue slit glowing eye full of rage piercing through their souls. Diodora. Issei roared with veracity. Boost 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 boost. Issei boosted 5 times. His aura spiked, making Shalba and Diodora instantly smash their faces down on the ground as they feel like they have the weight of the heaviest naval vessel created in history. All around the underworld, heaven and other places on earth, buildings crumbled and debris created a lot of dust. People screamed in terror and agony. This pressure. I can't move. Shalba shouted in his mind as he spewed out blood. Ai. Diodora screamed as he felt his bones breaking under the pressure. With them now immobilized, Issei hauntingly walked over to them. He grabbed Shalba up by the hair. But, due to Issei picking him up and Issei's aura pulling Shalba down, his body could not take the strain. Because of this, his body split apart horizontally with gravity draining his blood. Diodora looked on with dread, seeing the gruesome death of his master. Issei turned his sights onto Diodora, who was sweating buckets. I will never let you near Asia or the other girls from your ex-peerage again. I will personally send you down to purgatory myself. A place where no one will hear you scream. Issei spoke slowly. Issei commanded his aura to make 4 clones in his human form. As ordered, his aura seeped down and made the formation of the clones. Once the clones were done forming, they marched over to the downed Diodora. They grabbed a hold of his limbs and looked at Issei, waiting for a command. Issei in return used his hands and arms as the sign. Putting one fist above the other, he did a yanking motion away from both of his hands as the sign to say rip him apart. In one swift and coordinated motion, all the clones ripped Diodora's legs and arms off. Diodora, what do you call a devil who has lost all of his limbs? Issei provoked. Diodora struggled to look up. The punching bag. Issei grinned savagely. Issei then punched Diodora into the ground so hard that the only thing that remained was his blood. Issei then summoned a portal that was red and black in coloration. The skeletal hand that was the same color unraveled itself out of the portal and opened it as if waiting to hold something. Issei quickly grabbed Diodora's soul and handed it to the skeletal hand, which took Diodora, though it and the portal closed. That was the Guardian of Purgatory. Issei and the Guardian made a contract centuries ago. Issei seeks out bad or worse people that live and gives the Guardian their souls to keep in purgatory and torment for all eternity. The portal closed and Issei flew back up to OPHIS, who just watched the devastation with amusement. OPHIS then climbed onto Issei. "Are you ready to leave?" OPHIS nodded and laid her head on Issei's shoulder. Issei took off and left the burning base to crumble. 1 week later. It had been a week since Issei raided the Kouh brigade, with the death of both Shalba and Diodora. Issei had to be calmed down with the help of everyone, and he became even more protective towards everyone he loved. All of the Christian peerage girls jumped on Issei when he said to them that he personally dealt with Diodora and that he is never doing anything to them again. They wept in his embrace for hours until they cried themselves to sleep. Issei spent time with everyone as much as they spent with him. 1 more week for everyone's training to be done, then the Devil Youth meeting. Issei thought to himself as he laid down in his bed in the Gremory mansion with everyone he loved. Well, it's everyone's day off of training today. So, I'll take them all out for the day. Issei said with a smile. Issei slowly exited the vice grasp of all of the girls and went down to the kitchen, which was full of chefs and assistants. When Issei entered, he gained the attention of every person working. No one said anything. That was until. "So, who's ready to cook?" Issei energetically shouted. Everyone shouted back with the same energy. Unknown to those except for his father, mother, all the chefs and apprentices as well as Venelana knew he was the Gordon Ramsay of the supernatural, but better. For the next hour Issei guided the chefs and their apprentices in doing the food expertly. In 10 minutes, Issei and the waiters then laid out the food and drinks on the very long mahogany table. Within 2, Issei could hear scuttling from upstairs. "That food smells delicious." Rias could be heard screaming down the hallway of the 2nd floor. Issei laughed as he waited. Not even 30 seconds later, Rias slammed through the overly large doors with a drooling mouth and messy hair, as if she just got out of bed, who was conveniently followed by the others who also craved the food. In the second, they all sat near or next to Issei while also eyeing the food. Then Alana, Zeodicus, Serzich's, his wife and his son, Milikus, who came through the same doors. Then Alana and Serzich's wife were trying to containing themselves, but Issei could see that they were struggling. Zeodicus, Serzich's and Milikus lost all of their nobility and dived right into the food. And with that, it was the start of a day in absolute bliss. This is so good. Best food I have ever eaten. Hands down. Rias spoke while having a fujasm. Everyone nodded in agreement. Issei didn't have anything to eat as he didn't make anything for himself. He just watched everyone eat with a big smile on his face. Rias looked up at Issei and saw him not eating anything. "Ice. Where's your food?" Rias caught the attention of the others who also wanted to know. "Yeah, why aren't you eating?" Volley said, gulping down a piece of steak. "Because. I want to see the reactions of the people I call a family, eating the food that I and the chefs prepared for them." Everyone but Venelana shouted in disbelief. Even Serzich's had never known that Issei can cook. And incredibly at that. "You made all of this?" Rias slammed her hands down on the table while staring into Issei's heterochromic eyes. "Well, not all of it. Some of the credit goes to some of the chefs and their apprentices. But yes, most of it was me." Rias ran over to Issei and got onto her knees, clasped her hands together. "Please. Cook for us from now on." Issei and Venelana both laughed. "If that's what you all want, then who am I to decline?" Issei smiled. After everyone had finished, they looked slightly bloated. "That was wonderful." Rias patted her abdomen. "Don't get too full up, girls. We still have a long day ahead of us," Issei said while smiling. "What do you mean by that, Ice?" Rias tilted her head. "I'm taking all of you on a date. We've never gone anywhere or done anything as a loving group before. So, today, while this is your day of rest, let's go places and do things that loving couples do. I've rented the whole movie cinema just for us to watch 1 or 2 movies. I've reserved a large table at a restaurant for dinner. But, I want to do what all of you want to do throughout the entire day," Issei said with a smile. Every single lover that Issei had that was present had hearts for pupils. "He's the best," they all thought. "Is everyone just going to stare at me, or are we going to get ready for the day out?" Issei said while holding the doors open to lead back to his room. "Oh, right." All of girls said in unison, then rushed ahead of Issei to get ready. 2 hours later, 10:45 a.m. Issei can be seen in a nice business suit that was tailored to his size and to his colors. The blazer and leggings were a bright scarlet red with accessories that was a silvery white, the shirt he wore under the blazer was a sky blue color, and the tie was the same silvery white as his accessories. He sat on the Gremory's couch, patiently waiting for the girls to come down. After some time the girls came down in their own beautiful clothes. Rias wore a kimono to symbolize her fascination with Japan and its culture, while also retaining the red and black colors of the Gremory clan. The Kendo wore a black kimono with a mahogany brown obi, both to bring her full heritage and her mother's culture closer to her. Asia didn't know what dress to pick at first. But, when she saw a pink and red dress, she knew she had to wear it. Haneko was embarrassed on what Issei would classify as beautiful and couldn't pick a dress to wear. That was until Big Sis came to the rescue and chose for her. The gold complemented her eyes, and the black defined her white hair. Zenobia chose a kimono that complemented her figure in the coloration of black, purple and wine red with a pink flower patterned obi. Irina wore a bright pink kimono that had a bright purple obi as well to symbolize her Japanese heritage. Grafia wore a wonderful dress to make anyone wow at the sight. Kuroka just wore her regular black and red kimono with the gold obi as always. Sona wore a Chinese white dress with a blue flower pattern to show that she was a Citri. Serafil joined in after finding out through Sona and wore a red, pink and purple kimono with a dark yellow obi. The OPHIS changed her looks altogether, growing older and changing her eyes from dark gray to an abyss purple. Her breasts also grew quintuple the size than what they were originally, this allowed OPHIS to be seen as more attractive. Wow. All of you look stunning. OPHIS, I like your older look. Issei was flabbergasted and all of their beautiful appearances. Thank you Ice. All of them shouted in excitement while others in embarrassment. OPHIS came straight up to Issei. Thank you. Issei. OPHIS smiled with emotion this time. She's gaining emotions. This is amazing progress. Issei smiled back. Issei bent over and kissed OPHIS on the lips, taking her first kiss. Straightening up while still smiling. OPHIS stared ahead of her. Slowly a red tinge showed on her cheeks. Issei laughed at her reaction. Come on, let's go. What do you all want to do first? The girls all thought for a moment. How about shopping? It'll be fun dragging you around, Naya. Kuroka suggested. All the other girls agreed with devious grins. Issei felt a shiver go up his spine. Alright, if that is what all of you want to do. Issei smiled, making all the girls' hearts melt. Time skip. For the next hour and a half Issei was dragged around and into countless stores. Forced to carry all of their belongings, making him look like a clothes monster. It got to the point that he carried so much that he had to bring out his dragonic features just to make more space. Issei paid for all of the clothes, jewelry and accessories, which by regular standards would consider very expensive. But, Issei didn't have a problem with it. After the death of Ervina, everyone who witnessed it was present and all came to get to help Issei as he helped them in the past. So they made him an account that made Elon Musk look poor. At first he declined it. But, after numerous times he finally relented and agreed to owning the account, making him one of the richest beings in the supernatural. Issei put all of the new additional things into a pocket dimension. So, what do all of you want to do now? Issei sighed in relief. How about the cinema that you rented out? Rias proposed. Oh yes, that'll be good. The others nodded. Well, the cinema allowed us to play past films that were made years ago. I know one they will love. Issei grew a creepy grin. Cinema. So, what films do you want to watch? We have Marley and Me, Friday the 13th, Halloween. Issei got cut off by Irina. What's Marley and Me? Irina questioned. Issei smiled. It's about a family and their golden retriever called Marley. Most of the girls had sparkles in their eyes. Let's watch it. They immediately grabbed Issei's hand, pulled him to the counter. He ordered different types of popcorn for everyone, some chocolates and candies on the side to enjoy and drinks so they don't dehydrate. Even though they can watch all of these at home, it will be more memorable at the cinema. Viewing room 6 please, Marley and me, Issei asked. Coming right up sir. The employee said and went in the back. Alright ladies. Room 6. Some of them couldn't contain their excitement and ran down the hall, namely Rias, Irina and Asia. Soon that excitement will decline into tears of sadness. Issei took the far rear middle seat. Everyone sat around him or in front of him. He had already seen this movie, he knows what happens. The lights dim and the screen flickers to life. Time skip. Everyone but Issei was crying. Surprisingly, he saw OPHIS shedding some tears here and there. Most of the majority of the girls had fawned over the pup at the beginning. But at the end, when Marley the retriever died, they wailed like babies. Even though Kuroka was never one for dogs. She couldn't help herself from crying as well. Any other films girls? Issei suggested. What about that one? Asia pointed. Titanic. Issei looked over. What's Titanic? Rias asked. Titanic is a historic accident that happened in the year 1912. Issei summarized. What was the accident? Irina pushed on. Why don't we watch it and you'll see. Issei grinned. They proceeded inside and sat down. Another time skip. When it came to the iceberg colliding with the ship, unease was shown on all of the girls' faces. Issei's just showed amusement. As the Titanic started to tilt and sink, everyone dreaded. Time came when the ship's power cut out and broke in two. The horror was evident on every single face present, including OPHIS, except for one. When they came to the realization that Jack had frozen to death, the girls started to weep again. Your cruel son. Ddraig spoke with amusement. Haha, there's nothing wrong about me finding this amusing. Issei laughed. I agree. Ooh, Issei, do you like seeing those that you love cry? Irina cried as well. Sometimes, depending on the situation. Well, that's the movie over. Everyone looked at Issei with stream marks down their faces that ruined any makeup they had. They noticed that he didn't cry. I can't believe he didn't cry. Kuroka spoke. Yeah, it was so sad. Yet, he hasn't even shed any tears. Rias said with disbelief while sniffling. Issei stood outside waiting. So, where should we go next? Issei lifted his head to reveal a grin. That restaurant you talked about, how about that? Grafia spoke up. Yeah, good idea, Grafia. Let's go have dinner. Issei set off with everyone holding on to him. Hey girls, why don't you ditch this guy and hang out with us? A random bloke with some of his friends spoke, hoping to get laid. Issei, being the very overprotective boyfriend, fiancé he was, got extremely pissed, and before the invaders could do anything, he used his father's flames to incinerate them. Nothing remained. Issei looked at them as they burned with an unblinking cold stare. They looked at Issei like, really? They pissed me off and ruined the moment. Plus, I could see the perverse lust they had when they looked at all of you. They all sighed as they carried on walking. When they got to the fancy restaurant, they ordered. It was one hell of a feast. When the employees and the chef realized that Issei had arrived, he threatened them all if Issei didn't enjoy the food that was made for him, the chef would fire everyone. They took this seriously and worked twice as hard. After ordering and eating their cuisines, which the chef and employees spied on them, left with 5-star review with much more money on the side as a tip. The chef was overjoyed and increased his workers' pay, who were elated. Issei and his harem went home to the Gremory mansion with full stomachs. They got through the doors and Benelana greeted them. Welcome back everyone. How was the date? I think it went pretty well. Issei smiled. The food was delightful. Asia said cheerfully. The movies we watched were not so much. I mean, they were very good, but sad. Rias sulked. What did you watch? Benelana said, intrigued. Marley and Me as well as Titanic. Issei smirked. Benelana started to laugh. It's not funny, mother. We cried. It was so heartbreaking. Rias said in embarrassment. You crying or the movies? Benelana giggled. Mother. Alright. Benelana waved her hand dismissively. Anyway, it has been one hell of a day. I need a bath. Issei walked on. Can we help you? Rias asked. Sure, I have no problem with it. Issei shrugged. All the girls couldn't wait. Time skip. Now that everyone had their fill and was clean, Issei laid in his bed with everyone else hugging onto him. They're back to training tomorrow for the next week, then come the youth devil meeting. Issei thought. What are you going to do until then? Rehearse a few songs, so I may sing at the meeting and turn it into a party. Issei said to Ddraig. Picking up the mic again. You haven't done that for a while. I know. I want to surprise everyone. You're going to knock him dead, son. Thanks, father. Good night. Good night, son. 1 week later. Everyone woke up their sleep and got ready for a hot springs bath. Hiba, Azazel and Gasper got into the male's side, whereas Issei. The girls forced him to join in the springs with them. Girls. I don't think it's a good idea for me to be here. Issei said, troubled. It's fine, Issei, there's no need to be apprehensive. Rias dragged the uncertain dragon. But, isn't this breaching your privacy? No, not at all. Remember, we all sleep naked or somewhat naked when in bed with you. Grafia said. Right. So, will you wash our backs for us? Irina spoke, embarrassed. Haha, how can I ever decline any of you? Issei smiled lovingly. That's the thing. You can't. Akeno said with a sweet smile that gave off a weird vibe. Alright, well. Shall we get in the springs and have our time then? Issei said awkwardly. All the girls nodded. Issei and those that bathed with him, mainly his harem, all loved seeing his built and scarred physique. All of them wondered where and how he got every one. So, he pointed some out. This long gash here, I obtained while fighting a hydra. Issei pointed to a deep long scar that went from his left shoulder and down his pecs, cutting over to his right thigh. You fought a hydra? Rias shouted in astonishment. Yes, and he quite the rebellious one at that. Issei said, remembering the hydra. Rebellious? Vali questioned, all confused. You know how teens are when they are in their hormonal phase. Issei started. Yes. What does that have to do with the hydra? Vali tilted her head. Well, when a hydra enters its hormonal phase, or as you all like to call it as, puberty. For regular dragons and wyverns they have a mating season, and in these mating seasons, dragons and wyverns can't control their instincts. But that depends on how mentally strong the dragon or wyvern is. The point is, instead of a hydra going crazy with sexual hormones wanting to mate with anybody, and I mean anybody, they don't have to be dragon or wyvern. The hydra becomes temperamental and can be pissed off easily. Like a rebellious child. Issei summarized. Rewind. What do you mean by depends on how mentally strong the dragon or wyvern is? Vali said, baffled. Simple, weaker dragons or wyverns in the low to mid-tier spectrum can't control who they mate with. So, if a female devil or female elf, for example, came across a horny-ass dragon in his season, the dragon would then proceed to rape said female. If that happens, then it's a guaranteed pregnancy, as the dragon, wyvern's sperm increases the chance of fertility. Even if the person they are impregnating is a devil, that devil will have a definite pregnancy. But with high-tier dragons they can control it to an extent. Dragon kings or higher have an easy time closing these hormones off. Unless their mate wants them to go crazy. All the females made faces of disgust at the dragon rape part. Then, they started to worry. What if that happened to us? Rias screamed with a feeling of unease. Issei immediately attempted to ease their minds. Listen, no dragon would ever get close to you unless I allowed it. When dragons gain a mate they mark them by either rubbing their scent on said mate or by transferring his or her energy into the mate. Issei said with a growl. Is that what OPHIS did at the peace meeting? Rias said, calming down. Yes, that is exactly what I did. OPHIS affirmed. When a dragon does mark their mate, other dragons will stay away from said mates because of the lingering aura they make on them. So, if I were to mark all of you, you all would get a small percentage of my aura, telling other dragons to stay away from you. But, if they ignore that and try to do anything to any one of you, I will burn them. Issei growled at the end. Then will you mark us, Issei? They all begged. You do know what that means to us dragons, right? Issei swiftly put up his hands. All of them showed cluelessness. When a dragon marks a mate, it doesn't just protect them from other dragons. It also by dragon law is equivalent to marriage. So, essentially if I marked any one of you, by dragon law, all of you would be my wives. Issei explained. Everybody's eyes sparkled. Do it? They all shouted simultaneously. Seriously, straight to it. Okay then. Issei then proceeded to mark everyone through biting their collarbones. Grafia, Rias, Akeno, Vali, Asia, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Irina, OPHIS, Rainer, Kalawarna, Millet and the others in the dragon peerage all got a dragon tattoo in their respective colors, but in different places around their bodies. Alright. We are now officially married by dragon law. Issei grinned. All the girls looked at their marks with big smiles. They all hugged Issei together. From up high, Azazel, Gasper, Kiba, Biku and Arthur heard what took place. Well done, Issei. Azazel smiled. I'm root for you, Issei. Kiba said while also smiling. Big brother is so cool. Gasper cheered. Congratulations, my king. Arthur congratulated with respect. Wow. Way to go, bud. Biku shouted. Issei heard them conversing and chuckled. Why are you laughing, Issei? Asia said. The guys up there are congratulating me. Issei pointed. I see. Anyway, how's all of your training getting along? My power of destruction is getting better and better. Rias proudly states. My holy lightning has become more deadly thanks to my father. Akeno smiles happily. Oh? So, you have finally reconciled with your father then? Yes, after what you said back when you trained us with Kuroka here. I felt guilt for what I did, and it got to the point that I started to say to myself that maybe I was in the wrong to blame him. Akeno said, looking at her legs. Well, it's good that you can both heal now. Issei smiled. Issei looked at Vali. How about you, Vali? How's training with Tenon going? Well, it's going steady. Although, not as fast as I want. Vali said, disappointed. Issei nodded, then looked at Asia. How is your healing? It's progressing very quickly. I can fire projectiles in the shape of balls that will heal. Alright, Asia. Issei rubbed Asia's head, making her blush. Kaneko and Kuroka, how is your Kai energy manipulation and bodily enhancement going? Kaneko spoke up first. My Senjutsu, Yujutsu and my Taki manipulation are improving, and I'm getting stronger as time goes on. Well done, Kaneko. I'm proud of you. Issei gave Kaneko a few head pats, which she enjoyed wholeheartedly. My body is becoming stronger and through very little time as well, Naya. Kuroka purred. How about you girls? How's my mother treating all of you? Tiamat is very hard on us. She pushes us to our limits and then some. Abigail's sweat dropped. She has trained us to the point that we can manipulate our aura now and control our instincts. Issei smiled. Well, that's brilliant. With every step that every one of you takes means that you are one step closer to achieving your goals. Time skip. Issei and all of the others had dressed up for the meeting that was going to take place. But what nobody was going to expect is that Issei had a surprise for every single person there. Girls, are you ready? Issei shouted from the stairs. Yes. We will be right with you. Rias could be heard. Alright, I'll be waiting outside. Issei said, walking away. Wait. Why outside? Rias shouted. You will see. Issei then left through the doors of the mansion. Within 2 minutes, all of the girls stood in the mansion with Venelana prepping them. Just remember to smile and act accordingly. Venelana said, sporting a smile while straightening Ria's red dress. Yes, I know, mother. I am the face of the Gremory family and anything that I do impacts the clan. Rias spoke annoyed. Alright. Just go and have fun. Venelana smiled. Rias and every one of the females except Venelana went outside. What took you all so long? Issei said, laying down in his dragon form. All of the girls wondered why was Issei in his dragon appearance. I will be taking all of us to the devil meeting. Rias and all of the others widened their eyes. You're going to let us ride you? That's what she said. Issei laughed hysterically. Kouh busy of laughing on the floor. Hahaha. But jokes aside. Yes, I will be flying there with all of you on my back. Issei stuck his left claw out. The girls hopped onto his massive claw, which raised up to his back to allow the girls to safely plant their feet on the scales. Issei looked at all of them with a smile on his reptilian face. Are you all buckled up and ready to get going? I've put up a yes, we are comfortable. And thank you. Issei nodded and spoke like a pilot speaks on a plane. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are going to take off now, so keep your hands and feet in the scales at all times. Issei then proceeded to get up from the ground and turn towards the destination point. Whoa. Is this what it is like for you, Issei? Asia said in amazement. Issei chuckled. Yes, it is Asia. Issei within the next second. Issei had taken off into the sky. Time skip. Issei had just touched down outside the hall where the meeting would take place later. Thank you for the ride, Issei. Rias and the others proceeded to slide down his body. But was stopped by Issei. Not so fast, Rias. Before any of you do anything, I want to take you all in myself. What do you mean by that? Akeno questioned. You will see. Issei then began moving forwards. Rias? A deep and gruff voice rung out. Rias turned to the voice. Hello, Ddraig. Ddraig Bale. Hello to you too. I have a question, why are you riding a dragon? I'm shocked you do not recognize me, Ddraig. Maybe more harsh training will jog your memory. Ddraig's eye widened in surprise. Master? Ddraig screamed. So, you do recognize me? Issei grinned. Forgive me for not noticing you sooner, sir. Ddraig kneeled down in respect. Relax. I'm just playing around with you. So, what brings you to the youth devil meeting? Ddraig stood up. I came mainly because of the girls that are now my wives by dragon law. That and for professional business. Issei shook his head over to Rias and all the other girls. All the girls except Lefei blushed hard at being called wives. This will take some time to get used to. Issei then started to walk and talk with Ddraig, with the girls still on his back. Mainly about his training. That was until they heard the sounds of crashing and objects breaking. Issei, who had asked Surziches to make the main doors big enough to fit his dragon form through. Issei was felt more comfortable in his dragon form. Whether it be his regular size or his miniature size. Two people were verbally fighting and were clearly the center of attention. RGH. For the last time, Zephyrdor. Fuck off. Or are you so elated that you can't seem to understand that you have a finger up your ass? A silver-haired devil said in angst. How dare you insult me, bitch. I said that I would show you a very good time in a private room. The Agar's daughter really doesn't like being without her guards, now does she? That is most likely why you're still a virgin who hasn't let a man come near her till now. All the families that contain daughters of the mass stink of virgins, it is unbearable. And as I said that I'd do formal opening ceremony for you. You should be grateful. Zephyrdor wore a confident smug. Tsikvera grit her teeth. Issei, the girls, his two peerages and Ddraig looked at the dispute with unamused faces. Issei covered his snout with his left claw. What is going on? Issei huffed. Ddraig shrugged. Beats me. Issei strode up, who towered over to the two squabbling. Both Zephyrdor and Tsikvera looked at Issei's dragon form with terror. Would anyone like to tell me what is going on here? Issei looked at the two with skepticism. While Zephyr was shiting his underwear, Sekvara answered. This Pilak is trying to bed me when I have already said no many times before. He creeps the fuck out of me. Even more so now than the first time he asked me out. Sekvara went on about how the Glaciolabola's heir had tried to seduce her in many ways throughout the year. All the while Issei had his claw to his chin in a thinking motion. I see. So, he's harassing you repetitively. Issei maintained eye contact with Sekvara. You could put it that way. Sekvara glared at the cowering devil opposite her. All the girls scrunch up their faces in disgust. Why not get a restraining order? What's a restraining order? Sekvara looked at Issei with confusion, who looked back at her with wide eyes. How do you not know what a restraining order is? Issei facepalmed. Would you mind explaining what it is, please? Sekvara begged. A restraining order is a document that prohibits a person from coming into contact with the person who filed it. For example, if you, Sekvara, were to get a restraining order for the Glaciolabola's heir here, he would not be able to come close to you under a certain distance. That distance is what you would be able to choose from. I see. After the youth devil meeting I will get a restraining order. Sekvara smiled. He's got another one. The girls thought. Issei then looks at Zephyr and blows a spark flames at his face. Zephyr screamed while running off, leaving a potent smell of urine that only Issei could sense. So much for being the heir of noble clan. I never asked. What is your name? Sekvara asked with a tinge of red. The name's Hyoudou, Issei Hyoudou. Issei bowed his head slightly. Issei Hyoudou? I will remember that name. Issei nodded and pressed onwards into the hall further. Alright everyone, here is where you all get off. I have some business with Surziches to take care of. Issei said, making the girls downtrodden. Everyone then slid off of Issei's back and landed on the floor, some more clumsy than others, Asia etc. Issei went into the back to prepare. For what exactly? That will be answered later. So, what are we going to do now? Zenobia said. Well, we do our own thing. Graphia spoke. And with that everyone split into either groups to talk amongst themselves or to enjoy their time alone. Zenobia was sharpening Durandal. Rias, Sona, Akeno, Graphia and Abigail were talking about things, mostly Issei. Kuroka and Kaneko were sat at the bar table. Kuroka ordered a martini. Kaneko ordered a non-alcoholic beverage and they chat between one another. Irina was still mesmerized by her new wings and played around with them, accidentally touching her erogenous zones to which sent shivers up and down her spine. Asia was playing with a familiar that she got from the familiar forest. A small sprite dragon called Rasei that was snuggling up to her. Kiba was swarmed by multiple girls fawning over him. Eventually Kiba was called backstage, leaving the Kiba fans disappointed. Issei. Kiba became confused. Issei in his human form with a black two-piece suit with a red shirt underneath spoke. Kiba, thank you for coming. Back to the guests. Have any of you realized that both Issei and Kiba have been gone for a while now? Rias questioned. Yes, we have. I wonder what they are doing. Sona said. At that moment Surziches comes up to the stage and announces. Greetings ladies and gentlemen. As you all know I am Surziches Lucifer and this next to me is Seraphol Leviathan. You all are here today to know about a few certain topics. The first is about an organization that deals in terrorism called the Kouh's Brigade. And the second, if anybody here does not know, is that a year ago the previous heir to the clan Astaroth was trialed and imprisoned. But 3 weeks after he escaped with the help of the Kouh's Brigade. Everyone looked at him with a shocked face. The person that put the previous heir in prison was none other than a really good friend and mentor of mine. Issei Hyoudou. Surziches put his hand out to the left. Issei in his two-piece suit walked out like a celebrity. Thank you Surziches. Hello, devils, if you are wondering, the 80-meter dragon that came through the overly large-sized doors was indeed me. Everyone except those that came with him were in a state of frozen shock. As Surziches said, the previous heir to the Astaroth clan, Diodora, was imprisoned, but it escaped with some help. I, however, obliterated the base that housed Diodora and the descendant of Beelzebub, Shalba. Anyway, because the Kouh's Brigade is as powerful as it is, this meeting is to get all of the younger generation of devils ready for fights, not just raiding games, but proper full-on fights to the death. Everyone's eyes widen. Now obviously we aren't going to pin you up against enemies that are way out of your league. But they will be challenging. The raiding games won't be like your average game. These will require a tactful mind. I will show you all an example. Issei then pulsed out energy, which everyone's environment was changed to a battlefield. This is the humans' greatest war. World War II, it consisted of 5 great powers like the same as your Great War, but with a key difference. They utilize firearms and militarized vehicles instead of magic. The 5 main powers were the United States of America, United Kingdom, USSR or Russia, Germany and lastly the Japanese. During that time they were quite advanced. Some gossip happened here and there. I heard about that. Yeah, there were so many casualties. Correct. There were smaller factions that teamed up with the other four. But that is on a need-to-know basis. Going back to battlefield, these younglings would be put into different scenarios to somewhat reenact how the war worked. Teamwork and strategizing are the best approach in my opinion. This made all of the young devils think and wonder. "So, what type of raiding game will we be doing specifically?" Ddraig voiced. "Great question, Ddraig. For your answer, the raiding games will be stealth-based. However, due to some of you being more of loud and brutish people, the stealth is optional so they can go loud. But of course going loud makes everything that much harder." "I see. So that's his game plan," Sona thought. "How you all will handle it is up to you and your peerages. Oh, and yes, I almost forgot, in these raiding games, there will be 3 rules. Number 1, no flying under any circumstances. Number 2, in some of the games there will be a no magic and no sacred gear policy," Issei continued. The crowd went nuts after hearing that rule. "Then how will we defeat the opponents?" one of the devils voiced. "I was getting to that. Ahem, as I was saying. Due to those games prohibiting the use of magic and magical devices, you will have to coordinate together to take them out, whether it be in stealth or an all-out battle. Does anyone want me to demonstrate?" Issei asked, to which everyone nodded in agreement, some more enthusiastically than others. "Alright. For this I will take my newly completed peerage." Issei gestured over to Vali and the others. "Will my sister be participating as well?" Arthur spoke up. "That is her choice to make. If she doesn't want to be in the game, that is fine by me, I will not stop her." Arthur nodded at Issei's answer. The Fae said, "I would like to tag along. I always wanted to know what it was like when the Second War happened." "Alright then. But you have to be careful. That's also to everyone else. Because these raiding games will consist of the enemy using proper firearms. However, the ammunition they will use will be rubber bullets as to not actually outright kill someone. You get hit by so much as one of those bullets, it'll be like getting punched by an absurdly strong gorilla. Essentially code." Issei turned to Surziches. "Create a scenario on a WW2 setting please. Have it so that magic and sacred gears are forbidden." Surziches nodded, then went backstage. Vali widened her eyes. "What? Issei, what are you doing?" "I am going to show everyone that magic and sacred gears are not everything." Issei passed Vali while tapping her on her shoulder. "Alright, everyone gather up." Everyone that was in his assigned peerage was as follows. Queen, Grafia, Bishops, Rias and Sona. Knights, Arthur and Raynor during the hot spring. Brooks, Kouh and Kalawarna during the hot spring. Pawns, Kuroka X2, Vali X2, Irina X1, Lefay X1, OPHIS with 2 supercharged. Issei and all of his members arrive in an alleyway with a lot of buildings around them. "Where are we?" Rias asked. "We are in Berlin, 1940. Issei said, shocking some of them. "As of right now, everyone back at the meeting can see what we are doing." Issei gave both Lefay and Kuroka a device. "Lefay, I need you and Kuroka to scout ahead and give us a layout of the area. Sona, Grafia, once they are back, we are going to devise a plan. Because of where we are, it is best that we do this complete stealth." Everyone nodded. With Lefay and Kuroka out scouting, Issei and the rest set up a secured camp. "So, with this base of operations now established, all we need to do now is wait for the other 2 to get back." Issei. Issei turned his head to Rias. "Yes, Rias. What were those devices you gave them?" "Map scanners. They are linked to the holographic map on the table over there." Issei pointed to the main table that had the holographic device. "What those 2 have will allow us to get a visual image of the surrounding area, the layout and the enemy positions, so it will make things 10 times easier." Time skip, 5 minutes later. Lefay and Kuroka arrived back at the camp after scouting the area. They gave the scanners to Issei, to which he put them next to hologram. Once the data was transferred to the device, the hologram came up with a 3D visual layout. Many red dots were scattered around 2 congregated areas. The hologram displayed 8 red dots patrolling around the building, while many more were inside. "Whistles, that's a lot of enemies," Kouh said, surprised. "But there are, Kouh." Issei sat with crossed arms. "How do you think we should proceed, sir?" Arthur stood in a stance that was of a butler's. "One thing at a time, Arthur. Let's see the other area first before planning." Issei's eyes widened, to which everyone noticed. "What's wrong, Issei?" Grafia came up behind. "The Führer is here." Everyone looked on in cluelessness. "Who?" "The Führer, Adolf Hitler, the leader of Germany during the Second World War. He killed millions upon millions of Jewish people for no apparent reason." Everyone then widened their own eyes. Then, they saw a black dot at the harbor surrounded by shit tons of red dots. "So, it seems he is at the armory and vehicle factory." What does that black dot represent? Sona questioned. Black dots, Sona, are high-value targets. Sona then nodded. So, how are we going to make this happen? That, my darling Rias, is what we are about to discuss. Issei leaned on the table towards the hologram. We have 2 tasks. 2 that are equally as hard as the other. Task 1 is to kill Furdy at the armory and depot without raising the alarms. Get in, get out. Task 2 is to destroy the infantry and the building from the inside. Again, get in, plant these high explosive C4s in places that are out of sight, then get out without being seen. We can afford to mess this up. Treat this as the real thing. Issei said sternly. Issei turned his sights to Lefei. Lefei, you will be a recon and scouter. Your role is more important than anyone I will give. Your role is to relay enemy positions, their movement, where they look, and to keep an eye on the team you will be a part of. Lefei did this. Obviously, there will be 2 teams. Team 1 will go to the Reichstag building. Team 2 will be assassinating Hitler. Team 1 will consist of Grafia to lead, Sona as the tactics, Biku as the brawn, Arthur as the speed, Lefei as the recon, and Arena as the quick response. Team 2 will be led by me, my target will be the Fur. Volley will sniping from a building, I trained her how to utilize firearms. Rias, Akeno, Rainer and Kalawarna, the 4 of you will destroy the waterborne vessels, until I give you the command. Kuroka, your job is to blend in with the shadows as best you can, and kill silently without alerting anyone. Office is up with Volley reconing the area, once we've left to do our tasks. They all nodded. Issei took out 2 pairs of binoculars. As you can't use magic to survey the area, I am giving you these. He then passed the binoculars to Lefei and to Volley. Alright everyone, get into your assigned teams and proceed with the mission that I have given you. Yes sir. Everyone voiced back. Grafia's team went to the Reichstag building and Issei's team went to the harbor. With Grafia's team, Grafia, who lead the group, snuck around the building while getting directions from Lefei, who was on a tall building that was hard for anyone to see her. There's a guard coming your way, Lefei advised. Grafia held her hand out to halt the others who followed behind her. As the guard passed them, Grafia gave a nod to Arthur, who nodded back, and in one swift, silent and clean kill, Arthur pulled the now deceased body of the soldier into the shade out of sight. Grafia opened the comms again. Lefei, any more? And what are their routes? 2 near the roadside, 2 midway up the stairs, and there was 2 posted at the upper stairs. But, you dealt with 1. The other one is looking the other way, so you are clear to approach the main doors. However, there are 2 lookouts armed with carabiner 98s on top of the building. Thank you, Lefei. Keep in touch. Grafia disconnected. Grafia looked at the others and nudged her head to the side. Let's go. Grafia and her squad took cover behind the sandbag walls to stay out of sight. They were about to make a move for the doors when, guys, not yet, the guard is coming your way. Grafia stopped and ducked back into the sandbags. The guard stopped in front of the sandbags while looking away from them. Grafia signed Biku. Biku used his staff to pull the soldier over the bags and deliver a strong strike to the frontal lobe. I need to get to the rooftop of the building. But, I can't with the lookouts operational. Lefei spoke of the communication device. Arthur, can you assist your sister? Grafia looked at the English knight. Yes, if my sister requires my assistance, I will not decline. Grafia nodded. Go and get rid of those snipers. Meet us in the building. Arthur nodded and used his knightly speed to run up the walls and slash the throats of the 2 lookouts, dropping dead over the edge, and landed next to the group that cleaned up the mess. Arthur stood up straight and waved at his sister to signal that it was clear. 5 minutes later, Lefei got to the roof of the targeted building with Arthur still there waiting for her. Thank you, brother. You are my sister, it is my job and responsibility to protect you as an older brother. But, I have to get back to the others. Arthur sped off to rejoin the others. With Issei's team, Issei and the others with him were scouting the area in person from an advantage point. Issei spotted multiple snipers on different buildings. Volley, use your Springfield to take out the snipers. We need them out of the way before we proceed. Volley nodded and crouched down, taking an aiming position with her loaded and suppressed Springfield rifle. She had a 10x scope on hers. Volley scanned her targets, breathed in and fired in quick precision. Once all 5 of the snipers had been taken care of, Issei signaled to Rias, Rainer and Kalawarna to move in and take the other units down at the docks. Well done, Volley. Now Rias, Ray, Kala, go down to the KMS Bismarck, KMS Prinz Eugen, KMS Tirpitz, and sabotage them. Issei instructed, pointing at the 3 ships. Rias looked confused. How will we do that? With these. Issei held a duffel bag full to the brim of satchel charges. Plant these all over their hull and create a distraction on my call. Then once you have planted them, take out the guards around the area. The 3 nodded and went to do their task. OPHIS, stay here with Volley. Issei leapt off the building and hid in the dark with Kouh. So, I guess we just wait and observe. Vali sat back and relaxed. Offa sat down and crossed her legs watching Issei. With Issei landed on the ground and stood next to Kouh. How many of them have you taken out, kitten? Kouh blushed at the nickname, then composed herself. I have eliminated at least 7. That makes things easier. Stay here and watch a master at work. Issei walked off to the main gates with Kouh watching. Issei summoned Yamato and unsheathed it. But the guards unaware, Issei sped toward every single one, and with a swipe in the air, the blood on the blade flung off, and Issei slowly sheathed Yamato into its scabbard. With a click that connected, every head separated from their bodies and fell with gravity to the ground. And that is how it's done. Quick, clean and efficient. With Yamato in left hand, Issei continued walking further into the factory building, with Kouh quickly catching up to him. That was amazing. The way you whoosh and shing, the click with your sword, then the blood pouring out and the bodies go thunk. Kouh did hand gestures to the ranting. Issei chuckled in amusement to Kouh's excitement, and in turn she blushed in embarrassment. Issei and Kouh entered the compound and began to spectate. Issei counted the number of entities that were present. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13. There are 13 enemies that are in this place. Kouh nodded. Issei pointed a direction at 5 soldiers. Go take them out silently. And be discreet about it. Kouh gave one final nod and left to do her task. Issei raised his hand with his fingers spread out. With Vali was keeping an eye on Issei and Kouh. When Issei raised his hand, Vali knew that was a signal to prepare to fire. Issei pulsed his fingers with a 5 and a 3, amounting up to 8. 8 targets, she now knew how many she had to kill. She put on a visor that let her see through walls and loaded 5 FMJ rounds into the magazine of her rifle. These were given to her by Issei as a gift, along with the rifle of course. Using her visor, Vali spotted 3 on the lower floor and 5 on main floor of the compound. She took aim and Issei closed his fist tight. She fired with precise accuracy, with one body dropping after the another. She had to reload the mag of course. Issei turned around slightly and gave her a thumbs up. This made Vali happy. Back with Grafia and her team. Grafia and everyone minus LaFay and Arthur entered the building. Even though no one saw them, a lot of resistance awaited in front of them. That is a lot of people. Kouh spoke in bewilderment. Alright everyone, spread out. Go around the place and destroy, burn and or kill anyone in evidence, then find the designated points Issei marked and blow this structure sky high. Grafia gave each one 2 C4s. In total Kouh carried a duffel bag that contained 10 of these explosives. With the 4 currently present they left the last one for Arthur when he arrived. Grafia went to the armory to destroy any weaponry and ammunition. Sona went to the security office to make sure that the guard wouldn't alert anyone from the cameras. Kouh went to the documents and files room to burn any important evidence. Irina went to the cells to free any convicts that were suffering. Arthur just arrived and immediately took the last 2 demolition devices and planted them on 2 separate pillars. LaFay spectated all of them doing their jobs while she surveyed the area for weaknesses in the soldiers' ranks. LaFay narrowed her eyes as she saw what looked like to be a high-ranking officer and immediately knew that he had to be dealt with. LaFay signaled everyone. Everyone, there's a person in a well-dressed suit, he looks to be the one that controls this place. Should I take him out? Grafia said through connection. If you think you are up to it, then be my guest. Thank you alright. I'm going to engage. LaFay didn't waste another second and leapt to a pillar, to another and another, until he got to the big boss's office where he was residing. LaFay silently dropped down onto the rim of the box as there was no roof for it. She looked at the badge on his left shoulder, which gave her the feeling that he was definitely an important person of standing. LaFay got behind him and came down from above, opening up her left hand, to which a blade from the underneath of her wrist sprung out. Within a second LaFay struck a vital point in the officer, while also destroying the flimsy wooden chair in the process, was bound to draw suspicion. Killing the guy, the loud noise echoed throughout the entire building. Grafia spoke on the other line. LaFay, what was that? We all heard that from the exfil point. I killed the lieutenant, but I didn't expect the chair he was sitting in was so easily destroyed. Bang bang bang. LaFay had some visitors. Oh, shit. LaFay whispered. Arthur came on the line. LaFay Pendragon, that is no way to speak. Now, what was that about? Brother, the soldiers are trying to break down the door. I'm surrounded by everyone. LaFay said, hiding under the desk. With Grafia and the others. Let's go, LaFay needs our help. Grafia commanded. They all nodded and ran to LaFay's location. It took them 2 minutes to get to where LaFay was getting bombarded by the soldiers. Before one of them could pull the trigger, Arthur came in and cleaved soldier in 2 vertically downwards. Get away from my sister. One of the soldiers spoke the other. When was there two of them? Speaking in German. I don't know nor do I want to find out. Let's Jew. Shin. Arthur decapitated the soldier that spoke in the German dialect. The Fae was behind her brother, scared out of her mind. Grafia and the others were outside dealing with the other pests as they heard gunfire. With Issei. Now that the guards had been taken out by volley, Issei could move up and proceed with the assassination plan. He moved to the armory, which was behind the factory. Once he got to the armory, he immediately saw Hitler and scanned the environment. Explosive barrels, cranes with cargo on them, vehicles to set off their alarms to distract. However, Führer headed inside to assess the weaponry, is what Issei thought, so he started to move around get a better advantage. Once inside the armory, Issei could tap into the Führer conversation with his subordinates. Hitler and his underlings speak German for this. But in English subtext if you understand. Sir. Great to see you. The Nazi soldier saluted. Yes, I have come here to assess the weapons that are new are in full working order and to see if the old need to be replaced or are up to standard. Hitler and his subordinates start walking and talking, all the while Issei up above is following them in the shadows. The newer variations and new types are being made as we speak. For the older models or the recent weapons created are still optimal like the MP40. Good, there are more weapons that I have instructed my weapons designers to create. Once they are done, they will deliver the prints to you and your team. Got it loud and clear, sir. The soldier saluted and left. Hitler then turned around to walk back. However, he was stopped by the fact that his guards had been disposed of. Their bodies lay on the ground with blood seeping on the floor. What stood in the middle of them was Issei. He stood in his hybrid form that towered over the Führer by a good 2 feet. With his eyes glowing their retrospective color, Issei walked slowly forward, the frightened one-testicled man. Hitler couldn't form any words. But his instincts took over and grabbed his holstered Luger from his belt and aimed it at Issei's body, and within a second, the pistol fired. Tink. Hitler opened his eyes expecting the creature to be dead. Much to his disappointment, the bullet made contact with Issei's raised arm that was covered in thick protective scales, making the bullet ricochet into a gas tank, which leaked its contents. "Well, what are you?" Adolf said, terrified. But the shadows overcasting Issei's whole front. Only his heterochromatic eyes illuminated. Death. With one word it was over. Issei simply ate Hitler's head. Like Venom did with the thug in his movie. The now dead and headless carcass lumped to the floor with blood spurting out of the esophagus. Expertly done. Ddraig complimented. Issei then communicated the others and told them that the deed was done and for Rias, Kouh and Rainer to cause the distraction. Girls, the Führer is dead. Rias, I need you, Kouh, Rainer and Kalawarna to destroy the vessels to make a distraction. Kuroka, have you planted the explosives in the armory yet? On the other line. We will get it done, my king. Rias said and signaled the other two girls. Yes, I have, Naya. They are all over the place. Kuroka purred. Good. Volley any stragglers you see, pick them off. Alright. Volley answered. As instructed, Rias and those that followed her made some volatile explosions, garnering the attention of the patrolling soldiers. Once in Volley's sights, she sniped the soldiers one at a time in quick succession. Brilliant work, teamwork, all of you. Issei said while being suspended in the sky with his dragon wings flapping. Rias, Kouh, Rainer and Kalawarna blushed at being complimented. Volley also grew a blush, but tried to hide it by turning away. Thank you. Kuroka blushed, however this was due to her being horny and turned on. Issei could smell the pheromones that Kuroka produced and smirked. We should go and rendezvous with Grafia and her team. Everyone agreed. Issei with everyone by his side left to the rooftops and started parkering. With Grafia. They should be here any second now. Grafia mused, looking over the fake Belgium replica. And as if on cue Issei and the other arrive. Issei. Grafia went over to him and flicked his forehead. Oh, what was that for? Issei rubbed his forehead. That was for making us wait. Grafia then kissed Issei on the lips. That was for not dying. Grafia looked away shyly with a blush on her face. All the while the spectators on the female side became jealous. Even OPHIS grew a bit of jealousy. OPHIS, not having any control over these new emotions, sparked boldness. So, she immediately grabbed Issei by his collar and pulled him towards her into a lip-locking kiss. The other girls, now blowing steam out of their ears due to the jealousy and arousal, grew red in the face. Oh, OPHIS. Every girl screamed. OPHIS broke the kiss and looked at the girls with a slight taunting smirk. Mine. OPHIS then hugged Issei's arm tightly. Issei clapped his hands. Okay. Moving on. Issei looks at his queen. Grafia launched the fireworks. Grafia, regaining her composure, squeezed the C4 trigger and the whole Reichstag build blew up into a mushroom of fire. Issei congratulated everyone for their teamwork. Then, everybody was transported back to the meeting hall and to be met with a slack-jawed audience. "So, what do you all think?" Issei on the stage shouted out. Everyone sitting down formally in their chairs all stood up and gave a round of applause, some even whistling with their fingers. And that was just the example. When the heirs and heiresses do this, this is what they will be pinned up against. However, every single rating game will be randomized. But, enough of that. It is time to see what the aspirations of the young devils. Issei turned to the big five. Starting with the first one. Rias Gremory, what is it that you desire? What is it that you truly crave for? To be the rating game champion. Rias spoke with the most stern and serious face. Excellent goal. But, in order to do that you will need to grow stronger. Dihauser Belial is. In a fraction proportion of Surzich's power is 6/10. So, Dihauser is incredibly strong. Issei then switched. Saraerg Baal, what is your desire? To become a Mau. Saraerg said sternly as well. Issei smirked, which was unsettling to everyone. OOHH, boy. Do I have news for you then? You want to become an icon? Then you will have to work for it. I will train you so hard that your bones will feel like a first-timers. Saraerg, Rias, her group, Sona, her group, and even Surzich's. But, how would you train him? One of the council announced. This laugh made the hairs on everyone's back stand up. How will I? I will train him the same way I trained Surzich's. The guests and council. And just like that, Issei instantly calmed down. Alright, Saraerg, if you are passionate about this, then I'd like to say. Welcome to hell. Everyone sweated dropped profusely. Issei clapped his hands. Moving on. Issei moved over to Sikvera. Sikvera Gares, what is it you desire? Well, I just want to make my parents proud while doing my own thing. Very noble of you and not a bad goal. Last, but not the very least, Sona Sitri. Miss Sitri, what is it that you desire to do? With a stern and serious gaze like Rias. I want to construct a rating game school. One council member spoke up. But we already have hundreds of those throughout the underworld. Why would you need to accomplish that? I want to build a school that allows low and middle class devils to learn about the games. Sona stood her ground. Issei smiled at her and felt pride towards her that was until. Wahahaha. You think that you can build a school for the low class rege? Shin Issei could be seen flapping his wings effortlessly with Yamato's sheath in his left hand with the right occupying the handle and blade. The end part of Yamato combo B in DMC 4 and 5. Issei then flicks the blood of the blade and sheathed Yamato back into its scabbard, and when he did, blood came gushing out of the devil's throat. Issei side-eyed the falling council member with disgust. Never disrespect my wife to be. Sona blushed at being called his wife. Everyone but the girls blew their gasket at the shocking discovery. What? How? How could he? What you fail to understand is that I beat Sona in chess months ago. And you all know that Sona wanted to be free for a time until someone came along and won against her at chess. That someone was me. Issei spoke sternly. Every single girl that you see in that little group there are my wives and wives-to-be. Issei gestured over to Rias her female members, Grafia, Sona, Vali, Issei's peerages and OPHIS. Irvina. Issei shouted and his aura snaked down his body and onto the ground that took the form of Irvina. Everyone, but all of the ones that have seen her, gawk at her figure. I would do anything for any of my girls, I would give my life to keep them safe. Issei floated down in front of Irvina, who was in a white and royal blue dress. As well as in front of the others as a way to protect them. From the sidelines, Sikvera was staring at Issei in almost Yandir-ish way. If he loves and protects his loved ones unconditionally, then I think I have found my man or dragon in this case. Sikvera thought. She, however, unconsciously grew a bold streak and subconsciously walked up to Issei, who looked at her the moment she came into his line of sight, and she pulled him into a kiss. Literally everyone. Irvina, however. Just white hair, blue eyes and the dress being mostly white. Ara. It looks like another one will be joining the fun. Irvina thought to herself. MMMPH. Issei was surprised at Sikvera's boldness. Issei tired to get out of the kiss, but Sikvera held him tight. He looked over at his girls as a plea for help. But, Irvina was smiling sadistically, all the other girls were not mentally present at that moment. So Issei was stuck. Females, a man's double-edged blade. On one side they can be sweet, kind and caring as well as loving. On the other hand they can be the downfall for us. Sikvera detached from Issei. You are mine now. Issei looked at Sikvera with confusion. The girls snapped out of their daze and rushed to Issei, pushed Sikvera off him and guarded him from her. You are not having him. He is ours. Rias said this. Even though you are one of my best and childhood friends, I simply cannot let you be with the man we love. Issei at the back was thinking things over. Sai let Irvina decide, she is the lead girl after all. Irvina smiled. She is more than welcome to join. The more the merrier. The girls couldn't believe what they heard. What? Sakvara in excitement ran over to Issei and tackled him to the ground. Ooh off. Issei sat up and hugged Sakvara and told her to get off of him, to which she did. Issei then proceeded to walk back up to the stage and continue where he left off. Ahem. So, that happened, getting back to business. Sona, you have a very amicable goal, and I'll gladly support you with this dream of yours. Sona smiled brightly at this, even crying a little. Well then, with all of that done, finished and out of the way. Let the party begin. When Issei said that, everyone raised their drinks high in the air. Kiba. Come over here. Issei gestured Kiba to come on the stage. Kiba did as told and Issei handed him a microphone and music kicked in. Issei looked at the backstage. Hit it. Issei singing is in Michael's place and Kiba singing is in Akon's place. This was an idea I had for a few months now, but I could never seem to get past the WW2 part. Until a few days ago. Everyone couldn't believe that Issei could sing, not even Sursages. The girls in Issei harem all fell in love with him again. Irvina smiled in pride at her husband. Everyone loved the song. As Issei and Kiba sang, Issei looked at all of those he loved and pointed at every one of them and gestured at them one at a time to dance with him while he sang, that also includes Serafal. Kiba watched the scene with a smile, happy that his friend and mentor was having and giving the girls a memory of remembering. Sooner or later everyone was dancing. And when the song came to an end, everyone was already wanting another song. Kiba sat out for this as it was a solo for Issei. They were all shocked at the tempo and gentle tone of Issei's voice. But, nevertheless, everyone got back to dancing until the song ended. Again, was another song to the girls that he wanted to sing about and let them know that is always with them. Hearing him sing this song brought tears to the girls' eyes. Alright everyone, this song is more upbeat and directed to the girls that I want to help accomplish their dreams. Everyone jammed to his voice until it took off. Everyone never knew that Issei could sing like that. The entire room's inhabitants got pumped up from the song. Again Issei pointed at his girls when the chorus hit every time. Would you all like to hear one last song? Issei shouted. Yeah. They all roared back at him. Alright. This one will be a bit hardcore and long. So, are all of you ready? Yeah. The crowd chanted. As the music revved up, everyone got hyped as they danced with intense and striking moves. But when it got to the extreme vocals, no one, not even his father and Irvina, knew he could go that high or harsh. Some men were headbanging along with the beat. Some of the women that were secretly into hard rock and metal danced and headbanged along with their spouse or opposite. Some that didn't dance along with the rest banged their fists against the tables and beat with the song. When the song ended. When the song came to a close. Everyone cheered for Issei. Did everyone enjoy that? Yeah, yes, we did. The crowd screamed with joy. Issei jumped off the stage and landed next to his girls and looked at every single one of them. They all tackled him to floor while saying, "We love you, that was amazing, we didn't know you could sing." Even Serafal, who was supposed to be professional figure at the moment, couldn't help herself but join in. Haha, that's because it was a surprise for all of you. Issei said as he hugged them all. The spectators all looked at them with envy, jealousy, but also happiness for them. Back at the Gremory estate. When they all got back, minus Serafal, Sona, Sakvara and their peerages, they all took a nice long bath to wash the sweat they had accumulated, while the girls gave Issei comforting and relaxing experience. Ah, nothing beats a nice warm bath surrounded by the girls I love the most. Issei put his head back and relaxed in the tub. Every girl, even Irvina, all snuggled up to Issei's broad and exposed body as he went into his mindscape. It is nice to distress after a long day. Rias commented. I have to agree with you on that, Rias. Okeno replied. Issei's mindscape. Issei and Ddraig were conversing with each other, mainly about Issei's singing talent and the performance of the rating game. In my opinion, you all did very well in the infiltration mission. Although, I did sense some distress from Grafia's team. But, they got it all sorted out. No one got injured and more importantly no one got killed. Ddraig voiced. They are all happy and I will do anything to keep it that way. Issei's face stood stern. As you should, I would do the same thing with your mother. I would make sure that she would never cry again. Ddraig clenched his claws remembering when he made Tiamat cry out of sadness and loss due to his death. Issei woke up early to get morning breakfast ready for everyone with the chefs. Issei instructed they were making a special feast for everyone. American pancakes mixed with golden syrup and a strawberry on top. Chocolate sundae with chocolate syrup and a flake, and much to satisfy the sweet tooth of everyone. The aroma of said sweetness caught the attention of everyone sleeping. With Rias and the others in Issei's bed. Sniff sniff. Ria's sinuses whiffed the sweet-scented smell of the food subconsciously. With all the energy to power a small sub-generator, Ria sprung up to life, sniffing the air around her as the mouth started to drool. Girls, wake up. Issei's cooking again. With a rude wake up from the redeed. They all sprung simultaneously. He is. Kaneko spoke excitedly with a drooling mouth. Why don't we go down and have a look then? Akeno said. They then proceed to cover themselves up and head downstairs. In the dining area, Issei and the waiters are placing the freshly made food on the table in an orderly fashion. I know this isn't a very healthy diet, but at least it will be a memorable feast. And a memorable one it was. Everyone enjoyed the food prepared by them as they talked, made dad jokes, Surziches, Zeoticus and Issei, and those that were closest to them nabbed them by the ears, then there was laughter. During the hour, Surziches had a butler come up to him and whisper into his ear. This made Surziches' face darken and turn stoic. Issei, seeing this, mirrored his facial features. Serious business. You're correct, Issei. Auden wants to make a peace treaty. Surziches looked at his food, narrowing his eyes. I'm sensing a big but coming. Issei crossed his arms. But his son is apis to this. Surziches looked up at Issei. Issei raised an eyebrow. Which one? Balder? Heimdall? Thor? Loki? Or the others? Loki? Of course, could have seen that one coming. And no doubt that he has Fenrir with him. Everyone else in the room were stumped and taken for a loop. Loki? The god of mischief, Loki. Rias coughed up her food. And Fenrir? The god slayer wolf, Fenrir. Zenobia raised her voice. Issei looked over at the two. The exact same. Everyone sat in silence for a moment to come to grips with the information they just came to know. Issei stood up and looked at Surziches. What do you think that Loki's plan is, Surziches? To create Ragnarok, more than likely. My thoughts exactly. Loki has always had a boner for that stupid ass plan of his. Some that were present snickered at the insult. Issei turned to the main doors. Where are you going? Grafia asked. Issei turned slightly. To an old friend. Issei then continued walking to the doors and left. What do you think he meant by that? The girls looked at each other. Surziches put his right hand under his chin. I know who he is going to. With Issei. Issei made his way outside of the mansion and transformed into his dragon form. You going to him? After so long? Yep, now in his true form, Issei sliced open a tear through the fabric of space, revealing a cave with a giant humanoid. Hephaestus. Long-time old friend. Issei landed and stood parallel to the Titan. Issei, how have you been? Last time we saw each other was before the civil war with devils that ended. What brings to my forge? This is most likely not a wake-up call. Hephaestus smiled. Sorry to disappoint you, but this is urgent. So, what is it this time? It can't be all bad news. Sorry to break it to you. But, Auden wants to make a treaty with the biblical faction. However, Loki objects to this, so he will more than likely try to start Ragnarok. That is bad news. Because of this, I have come to the one Olympian that I trust to make the best gear that my girls and brothers in arms can have. Girls? Yes, girls. Issei then lists all of his wives and wives-to-be. I see. You have a really big harem and you got over your trauma. Hephaestus sweat dropped. No, not completely. But with the girls by my side, they dampen the effects. So then, what do you need crafted? Hephaestus grabbed his hammer and started pounding the molten metal on the anvil. Very sturdy and durable, yet versatile and lightweight armor for Kiba. He doesn't like wearing armor due to it hindering his ability to be fast and agile. This preference will also be the reason why he will be the first to perish in a proper battle. One well-placed hit is all it will take to kill him. Alright, adamant it is then. Hephaestus placed a brick of metal into a large pot and placed the pot in a furnace. And before I forget, here. Issei passed a bucket load full of his scales. Merge the metal with my scales. The blacksmith of the forge nodded. After some time for the metal to melt and be put into a shape cast for molding, shaping. The Titan finished hammering at the newly crafted set of armor, as well as applying the scales to the armor. One of the strongest metals while also being advantageously lightweight. Like you asked. Thank you. Kiba will benefit from this. Anything else you want created? Yes, can you make a set of magical bracelets for each one of my girls and the guys that increase their weight? As the wielder grows stronger, so does the bracelets. Well, how many people am I suppose make these bracelets for? There are 28 people. So, you will need to make 56 of these magical bracelets. Ooh, my materials. Hephaestus comically cried. Maybe I should have Ajuka create something akin to that of a gravity room that fluctuates and controls gravity pressure. Issei thought. That's actually a really good idea. After an hour of waiting, Hephaestus came over with the 56 bracelets. Alright, they are all done. Thank you, that is all. Issei put the items in his personal infinite storage, waved at Hephaestus, left his domain, and teleported back to the Gremory mansion, as it was faster. Hephaestus sighed in relief, then cried at the loss of so many crafting materials he had to use. With Issei teleported outside of the mansion and reverted to his human looks as he re-entered the building with a smile on his face. Issei came through the large hall doors that lead to the dining area. As he did so, he garnered the attention of everyone. "I have a gift for all of you," Issei shouted, which reverberated through the walls. "Gift?" Rias questioned, confused. "That's right." Issei opened his personal dimension for the belongings. "Tibba, I know how much you hate wearing armor as it weighs and slows you down. However, I asked a friend of mine to make an armor set for you. It will protect you, it's also somewhat weightless, so it won't slow down your speed or hinder your mobility." Issei brought out the armor that was presented on an armor stand. Everyone but Kouh wore faces of awe. Tibba scowled at the mention of armor. "Issei, I've said this already." Kouh was interrupted. Issei put his hand up as a stop gesture. "I already know what you are going to say. But trust me, this will benefit you more than you think." Issei gave the armor to Kouh to try on. Within a few minutes, Kouh came out wearing and adjusting the armor. "How does it feel, Kouh?" Kouh looked all over the armor. It feels comfortable, not too tight and not too loose. And it's as you said, it's very light." "Well, go outside and try to get used to it." Issei opened the main door for him. Kouh nodded and left to train in the armor. "Now, girls. Boys." Their attention now redirected back at Issei. Issei took the bracelets out of the portal for everyone. "What are these?" Kouh questioned. "These Kouh are special bracelets for training." "And how do they help us?" "They increase in weight as the wearer grows stronger." "That is really useful actually." "It is. It's one of the reasons how I am so strong today. I had similar ones that were better. I wore them on a daily basis, and as my body grew stronger day by day, so did the gravity increase." "So, how much gravity can you withstand?" Graphius said. Issei had to think to himself to calculate. "I think round about 11,000 times that of Earth's gravity. However, I could be wrong. It could be higher. Because once I put them on, I never took them off. I think I still have them on actually. I forgot all about them, that they felt natural to me." Issei lifted his sleeves to expose two similar bracelets on his wrists. "Huh, well, would you look at that?" Issei looked on the underside of one of his bracelets, which displayed the current gravity he was at. "Well, shit. It's higher than I thought." The bracelet showed that Issei was hauling 15,697 times that of Earth's gravity. "What?" The sounds of everyone's voices reverberated all throughout the mansion. Even Serziches and Venelana shouted in disbelief. Issei rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. "Haha, I guess I've fought in every battle with these on without realizing it." "So, if you are already this powerful, then how powerful are you without those on?" "I don't have answer for that. But I could test it." Issei then proceeded to uncouple the bracelet links. The bracelets fell off of his wrists and slammed violently onto the ground, creating a large crack that kept growing until the floor gave way and swallowed the bracelets into a pit of darkness. Issei became shell-shocked, not from the hole that the bracelets made, but from the loss of the bracelets. Seconds later, Issei shook out of his shock and started crying. The girls were alarmed to his crying. Even Ervina popped out of the boosted gear to comfort Issei in a loving embrace. Ervina looked at everyone and said, "He's had those bracelets since he was 5. They were a gift from his mother Tiamat on his birthday. Ever since that day he never took them off." The girls understood how he felt. The boys may not know what he was going through, but they stuck by him. "And my bracelets," Issei said as he had tears streaming down his face. "It's alright, honey." Ervina stayed hugging her husband. Ervina sighed to herself before standing up. "Well, as Issei is not in peak mental condition at the moment, I will speak on his behalf." Everyone looked towards Ervina. "Those bracelets double the gravity you are currently used to, and once you put them on you will feel a lot heavier. Neither do I or darling here expect you to be able to walk around once you are wearing them." Vali. Could you come here please?" Ervina gestured to Vali, who was at the rear of the group. Vali stepped forward. "Now, put these bracelets on." Ervina handed Vali the bracelets. At first there was no weight to them. But, when she put them on, it was like a ton of bricks were holding her down on the ground. Vali struggled to get up from the floor, as was evident from the sweat and bulging veins on her forehead. But, she managed to at least kneel. How in the actual hell did Issei manage to hold this much? Issei turned towards Vali with a stern tone. "Those bracelets aren't even a third of the weight that I first started with." Vali's and the minds of those behind her broke. Click. Ervina clicked her fingers in front of Vali's face. Vali came back to reality. "Wow. You will have to get used to the ever-increasing weight. That's what I had to do when I was young. Issei stood up recovered from his despair. Then. They cried. Outside of the Gremory estate. So Kiba. How's the armor? Kiba jovially answered. Even though I've never been a big fan of armor, I absolutely love it. Issei smiled with glee. Glad to hear it. The armor was made out of my own scales and the strongest and lightest Olympian metal, adamant. Issei turned towards the rest, who were sweating bullets. Well, chop chop. We ain't got all day. Everyone then groaned in exhaustion. Throughout the entire day Issei made everyone walk over 10 kilometers, going up and down mountainous terrain, swimming through lakes that could freeze the balls off of a person. When they get back to the estate. Rias, Gremory, etc. were all exhausted beyond compression. Why huff did we huff go through wheeze that? Rias screeched. Issei looked at Rias with a gentle smile. This for everyone's benefit. The harder the training the stronger you will become, I mean look at me. Issei spread his arms. Everything you see here is because of rigorous and brutal training that I and my mother put myself through. I didn't get these overnight. Now take rest, tomorrow the real training starts. Rias and everyone around her felt a very strong trepidation as they went to bed. A week later. But the inevitable conflict with Loki, Issei had whipped his girls and brothers into shape. Although, exhausted and in aching pain, they have grown a lot stronger throughout the week. Alright. We will leave it here for now. Every single person collapsed onto the floor in agony. Why do you do this to us? Everyone roared in unison. Issei, who's playing with a silver coin, said. You know why. Issei flipped the coin up in the air and caught it, then glanced at the side the coin showed. They all tilted their heads. No, we don't know why. Then Issei took a long deep breath. It's because I care for you all. After Avina's death, I can't let anyone take those I care about get taken away from me again. If I were to find out that any of you had died, I'd be left with half myself. So that is why I'm pushing you so hard. Every one of you has potential, and it'd be a waste not use it. The girls stared at Issei shedding tears attentively. And the males now had more motivation and resolve to get through the training. I am making sure that when you face a strong enemy in the future, I won't have to worry about all of you being killed. Or worse. Issei shivered. The girls surrounded Issei in a volley of hugs to comfort him. We will never leave you, Issei. You have my word on that. Rias said, shedding tears. She's right, Issei. You won't have to worry about us. Gremory spoke gently. We will endure the pain and exhaustion to get stronger. Akeno smiles beneath her tears. Even if it means pushing our limits multiple times over. Kaneko stated bluntly. You have taught me to become stronger than I could ever imagine. Some would say you are like a father to me. But I don't see you that way. I see you as a person that I fell hard for, and when you left me with that old fossil of a crow, who is now my father, I felt empty and in pain of not being able to be near you. I think I can speak for everyone here when I say you are a light in the dark. Volley cried as the others nodded furiously in agreement. Issei stayed silent, not saying a word. Issei was shocked beyond belief. I have no words. Issei closed his eyes to regain his thoughts. Issei. Ddraig's voice rang out. Yes, Dad. What is it? I share the same sentiment as they do. You are mine and your mother's son. What you have done for everyone over the years makes both me and her proud of the dragon you have become. I too feel prideful and happy of the dragon I married and wanted to have a family with. And now, I get to see my hubby with others that love him as much as I do. I've always wanted big family from the start. But the thing I want most is to see my husband happy as well. Issei snickered at Ervina's demeanor. Thank you. The both of you. You're welcome, Issei. Ddraig and Ervina said united. Issei didn't say anything and embraced them all in a tight hug. Next day, where they had the youth devil meeting. Issei is standing next to Surziches, Ajuka and Azazel. An elder, who stood in front of them accompanied by a silver-haired female in a business attire. Surziches spoke up first. Lord Auden, glad you could make it here safely. Auden. Of course I would come, Surziches. How can I turn down such an invitation to a peace treaty such as this? Auden stroked his long beard. Auden gently pushed the silver-haired woman in front. This is Roswis, my Valkyrie bodyguard. Greetings everyone. I am Roswis, Lord Auden's personal Valkyrie. She said with elegance. However, looking at the leaders of the factions. First Surziches, Ajuka, then Azazel. But, when she locked eyes with Issei, something switched inside of her. Looking at him, she began to grow a blush and looked down to cover said blush from prying eyes. But, that was in vain, as she was already caught red-handed not only by Auden, but by Issei's harem as well. While the former smirked in amusement, the latter groaned. Looks like there will be another addition to the team. Roswis, stop being so formal and serious all the time. That's most likely why you can't land yourself a boyfriend. Roswis being very touchy on this subject caused her to have a breakdown. She fell to the ground comically crying. Issei knelt down to her level, put a hand her shoulder, looked into her eyes and smiled. Hey, no need to cry over something so trivial. I'm actually kinda surprised that you don't have a boyfriend yet. You have the looks, even though I've only just met you I believe you to have a wonderful personality. Due to the way you are dressed I see you as an intelligent and organized individual, very young as well. Rias widened her eyes in shock and a blush adorned her sleek face. Do you really mean that? Of course I do. I meant every word. Issei kept smiling at Rias who was captivated by it. I mean take my girls for example. They can tell you all about it. Rias looked over to the large group of females behind Issei, who waved and or smiled at her. Rias gained mixed feelings about this of course. On one hand she found a man that isn't afraid of what she is, but sees her for who she is and likes her regardless. While on the other hand, he already has an absurdly large harem of females, she feels that she will just get in the way. As Rias was in her thoughts, the girls pulled her aside out of eavesdropping range, mainly to talk about Issei. Well, the person in question was conversing with Odin and the trio about political matters. Issei looked at Odin, who looked back. So, when will Loki jump in? As he is your son, you know he's the one that wants chaos and Ragnarok the most. Well, technically he's not my son but is at the same time. But, yes, more than likely in a few minutes. Adoption. And Ajuka prepare to make a sealing trap, I will help strengthen it. Ajuka nodded getting the calculations for the seal. Yes, you see Loki isn't just a god, Issei cut off Odin. Our giant, I know. You found him, raised him and trained him alongside Thor, your biological son. Too bad that Loki had a screw loose. Odin's sweat dropped. Ahem, well, yes. Loki has different views on things, you see. Odin tugged on his collar. I can tell. Issei narrowed his eyelids at Odin, who the latter gulped in fear. Surziches and Ajuka both spoke up as the air was stagnating. Okay. I think a change in topic wouldn't be best right now. Surziches tried to defuse the heat of the conversation. Yes, I have finished the seal. Ajuka spoke up. Alright, time to get this done. Issei walked to the seal and strengthened it using strength-enhancing magic. Just in the nick of time, Loki appeared in a magic circle. Odin, what is the meaning of this? You are making peace with these lowly beings. Odin facepalmed in disappointment. Loki, you don't know what you are dealing with here. You are playing with fire. On the contrary, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. Loki made a magic circle that summoned a large black and grey timber wolf. Do you remember who this is, dear father? Odin followed with. Fenrir. Issei looked into the giant-sized wolf and saw something that he knows all too well. That's correct. I'm going to use him to bring Ragnarok. Issei steps forward. Says who? And who are you? Somebody that'll put you into the ground. Issei narrowed his eyes once again. You? Put me? Into the ground. Ha 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 ha. Issei stood unfazed and looked towards Fenrir who cowered at Issei's gaze. Growl W, what do you want? Fenrir growled afraid. Growl, he's forcing you, isn't he? Fenrir lowered his head in sadness. Yes, I'm right in that assumption. Issei sighed. I will free you. Fenrir hastily looked up at Issei. You will? Hope blossomed within Fenrir's being. Yes. But on one condition. Anything. I'll do anything to get away from father. I want you to be a familiar to one of my wives. Yes, I'll be their familiar. Issei smiled. You see the girl with white hair and blue eyes? Issei pointed at Vali, to which Fenrir's gazed her to her and saw she was staring back at him. I see her. Fenrir looked back at Issei. I want you to become her familiar. Will she treat me well? Yes, I'll make sure that she does. Chuckles, she has always wanted a dog. Fenrir cried. Thank you, thank. Clang. What is wrong with you? You are here to wipe them out. Not cry like a bitch. Fenrir curled up in fear over his father. Seeing his wife's to be familiar, hit with magic, filled Issei with anger. Trap Loki, now. Ajuka traps Loki in a triangular prism seal that encases him. Issei quickly walked over to Fenrir as he heard him whimper. Hey. Fenrir, look at me. Fenrir looks at Issei staring into his eyes. There you go. Just focus on me. Fenrir nuzzled Issei's cheek as a sign of affection. You stupid bastardly mutt. You are supposed to listen to me. In the background Loki screamed out in seething rage. Issei growled in a deep tone, shut up. A burning aura emanated from Issei's body, to which Loki subconsciously flinched in fear. I've heard enough of your voice. Shut it before I shut it for you. Issei side-eyed Loki, revealing his left emerald green dragon eye. Signals fired within Loki telling him to get the hell out of there. But, due to his pride, he wouldn't back down. TCH, who do you think you are? Who I am is of no concern to you. Of course it concerns me, I have every right to know the being who challenges me. Challenge, you know, I think the word you are searching for is a promise, death threat and the like. Loki taken aback at the refute. I've had enough of your existence. But, for Lord Odin's sake I am keeping you alive. However, if you ever step out of line again, I will not hesitate to end your lease on life. Do I make myself crystal clear? Issei flared his aura to a third of his power. Loki, who was in the seal, sweated tremendously. TCH. I'll take that as a yes. Issei then turned to Odin. Lord Odin, call Thor to take Loki away. Odin huffed in relief. After, he nodded and went to make a call. Are you able to shrink to a smaller size? Issei asked Fenrir. Yes, I'm capable of that, give me 3 seconds. Fenrir started to shrink to the size of a larger than average sized timber wolf. Issei smiled at Fenrir. Vali. Vali, who was in a stupor from how cute Fenrir became, was snapped out of said daze. Yes, Issei. Come. Meet your new familiar. Vali sped over to the two. Really? You'll become my familiar. Fenrir sweat from how his to-be master's personality was. Bark bark. Vali looked at Issei. Issei translated. He said, he'll be glad to. Vali rushed to hug the wolf. Fenrir pleaded with Issei to help him. But Issei smirked and walked over to Odin, who returned. So, did you get in touch with Thor? Yes, I have. He said, and I quote, I leave Loki to Issei. My brother has had one too many times to be redeemed. And I have noticed that out of all of Issei and his group, only he can wield Mjolnir. Issei, not expecting this answer, became stupefied. I was definitely not expecting that. But I will fulfill what is needed to be done. The hammer will arrive momentarily. That's good. The seal will give us enough time for Mjolnir to arrive. Vali, how are you and Fenrir getting along? Me and Fen are getting along swimmingly. Vali said, still hugging Fenrir. Help me, please. She's killing me. Issei sighed. Vali, loosen your hold on Fenrir, you're killing him. I am? Vali looked at Fenrir, who was struggling to breath. I'm so sorry. Fenrir licked Vali's face as if to say it's alright. Let's get Fenrir acquainted with the others. And Vali nodded in agreement. Vali picked Fenrir up like a little pup despite his abnormal size. Everyone meet the god-slaying wolf, Fenrir. All of the girls started fawning over his cuteness. Fenrir was still nervous of everyone around him. But was quickly warming up to the attention he was receiving. Alright, now that Fenrir is out of harm's way, time to deal with Loki. So, according to Thor, if I'm able to wield Mjolnir, then. Issei lifted his arm and spread out his hand. A second later a small portal opened, and with it was a hammer carved in Nordic runes. Issei caught the hammer in his open hand. Neat. Wasn't actually thinking it would work. Issei heard a voice in his head. However, the voice was female. You're worthy of wielding me and the power I possess. What? I'm sorry, but who's talking to me? Look down. The voice spoke. Issei did as told and not only felt the hammer vibrate in his hand, but see it as well. Wait. Hang on, you're sentient. Surprised. Very much. I was never told nor came into any knowledge that the weapon that the god of thunder wields was sentient. That's because I don't like showing myself, even to the so-called thunder god. You are the first and only person who will know. I am honored to have met you then. Please, the honor is mine. To have one of the most famous dragons to call and wield me is a delight. I'm flattered. So, why did you call me? The hammer questioned. The god of mischief is up to no good and wants to start Ragnarok. I see the situation now. I will help contain him. Thank you. Anytime, need anything you want, I will come to aid you. The hammer replied happily. Issei channeled the energy of Mjolnir and shot a flux of lightning strike at the seal. Once the electricity hit, the current circulated throughout the seal. The seal started to decrease in size, making Loki's breathing room smaller and smaller by the second, until it encased only him within. Blinking, Issei looked back down at Mjolnir. I wasn't expecting for you to be that strong. I am full of secrets that not even the dwarf twins who made me know what I am capable of. Damn. You're overpowered. Says the person wielding me. Touché. As Issei and Mjolnir talked, a portal opened and a blonde muscular man walked out. Thor. What are you doing here? Odin was surprised to see his son. Mjolnir just up and left through a portal. I had to track the portal's destination. And to my surprise it came here. Odin looked at Issei. Thor traced his father's line of sight. Issei looked at Odin. What? Thor was actually taken aback that Issei was wielding his hammer. He snapped out of his shock and held his arm out at Mjolnir. However, the hammer didn't respond. Strange. The hammer is not reacting to my command. Why aren't you returning back to Thor? Well, he is worthy of wielding me. Compared to him, you are held on a higher pedestal. So, short. You refuse to return to him. Precisely. Mjolnir replied. Issei breathed and said. Thor, Mjolnir doesn't want to return to you. I have been talking to it. Thor and Odin look at each other conflicted and confused. What do you mean, Issei? Rias spoke from the crowd. Issei took a second to think. Can I tell them? Might as well. The secret is out now. So, basically, Mjolnir is sentient. Issei scratched his head. What? This stumped everyone. Ervina's voice made itself known. What everyone heard from my husband is correct. The hammer has been sentient since its creation. How come I have not known this? Thor questioned. It didn't want to make itself known to you. Only me for some reason. Issei shrugged. I see. Well, can I have Mjolnir? Mjolnir, go to Thor. You sure? Positive. In the end, Thor left with Mjolnir. While Odin signed the treaty, then took Loki and imprisoned him in a magic-canceling isolation chamber. So, that's dealt with. Vali has a dog, everyone is safe and happy. All's well, that ends well. That's it guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. With that, take care.